Everybody, welcome to episode 8 of the Buster Call series. This is a very simple series where we just go through and we expose everything One Piece related, down to the hot takes, the theories. We just let it all show. And this week is a very special guest because I've been trying to get this man for a long ass time. Like when I made this series, I was like, yo, I need to make sure he's on one of these. So we have the one and only Dak Sake.
Hey man, I'm so excited to be here, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna be cooking some serious theories today. I can tell you that. I'm pumped to be here. I remember I was helping you like try to choose the name. You like bounced some ideas off me for the stream concept. So I've been looking forward to getting on here for a while now. So it's the right time too because we're right in the middle of the trifecta of One Piece greatness with we have the anime, obviously. We got big stuff coming in the next month or so. Crazy stuff. Yeah, we got the manga going on, and then live action just dropped the trailer. So, we're eating as One Piece fans. So, I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad to have you, man. And that's so true. Like, when I was trying to figure out the name of this series, I hit you up because you're like the legit king of One Piece puns and the titles and all that. Like, Lafro Tail, come on, man. Like, that just says it.
Hey.
That just says it right there.
Major shout out to Preach because he had Laugh's Tale as like his big video like a couple months before I dropped that one, and I was like studying that video. I was like, all right, like I need to get a catchy name for it. I need to drum up the excitement of it the same way he did in the video because I thought they did a great job. Or I think Oars did that one, but regardless, yeah, no, I appreciate it. The puns are definitely my thing. Even like when I used to work at Chipotle, and that was like my thing back then. So, no, I appreciate it.
All right, there's just so much to talk about because when I was on your Davey Dak fight a while ago, that was way before this emu stuff, the whole Reverie shit. So, wow, I have so many questions. Like, let me start you here, right? Where do you see the story heading? Are we going straight back to Egghead? Are we going to hear the Shanks or the name Shanks was talking about? Like, where do you see us going 1087?
Yeah, so it's interesting because in 1085, I said that, okay, the way this is setting up is we're going to wrap up the Sabo stuff. We're going to transition back to Egghead. And then whenever we get back there to Egghead successfully, like maybe Oda wants to divert us, but whenever we do, we're going to be there for good. So that's an important caveat is whether it's in 1087 or 1088, it's going to happen soon. And when it does, we're staying in Egghead until that whole thing is done. Like Oda is setting up for that whole thing right now so that whenever the Egghead incident happens, it hits us like 10 times as hard because it's like, oh, now that we know everything from the Reverie, this means so much more. Like, this is crazy. But as for when, I mean, at the end of 1086, Sabo finished telling them the story. Like, Dragon and Eva are pretty caught up. So I think 1087, lining up with the Oda break makes a lot of sense. So.
My bad. I'm just freaking out from the 50 bomb. I heard all of that, and I agree.
No, I saw that. No, it was worth it. I saw that. I was like, oh, I got to wrap this up. We got to talk about that W from Dion.
He said, I got to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Dion. This man's always coming through. Has he been to your streams before?
He has not, but I've seen him in your streams many times whenever I was checking him out. So I'm familiar with the name Dion, or Wyon right now, right?
Wyon Wedwards.
Yep.
And we got Terrible TJ with the gifted. Thank you both so much, Dion. Thank you tremendously, man. Thank you, my boy.
Hey, shout out to TJ and shout out to Hako for getting that membership, man. I love seeing who gets the membership.
Yeah, Hako, nice.
Hey, good job, Hako. Hey, what's your what do you call your membership groups? Is it like the Three-Eyed Gang?
The Three-Eyed Tribe, bro.
Yeah, I love that, bro. I love that.
Appreciate it. Do you have a name for your people? Or am I just totally forgetting about it?
It's Mole Gang, Afro
Mole Gang, yeah.
Yep.
Dude, I sound like such a fanboy when I say this, especially if I'm telling it to you. But like Pluton is a mole, man. I fucking love that theory. Like the longer and the more and more I think about it, it makes so much sense. It screams Oda, like on the top of its lungs, bro.
That's the biggest factor for me. Like I love that you said that because like like the ancient weapons being living things and being unexpected living things in general, I feel like a lot of people like that idea. Like that's a very Oda type thing. But then whenever you start picking the specific animals and you get to a mole, like that is like yes, living things, like unexpected things is an Oda vibe, but a mole is like even more so. It's like the extreme, like, oh, Oda would definitely do something random like that. Like all the ways it ties in and like having the mole port in Wano. Like these are all things where if it was a mole, we would go and look at these, be like, oh, Oda was playing 5D chess from the beginning. You know what I mean? So, I hope that's something that we get pretty soon, or even if it's not fully revealed soon. I do want to see what's happening with Pluton. There's a lot of potential ways that could go. My hope is that Blackbeard gets it, which I know would be absolutely terrifying for the story. But Blackbeard's my guy. I know you're a Blackbeard guy as well. And so if my boy Teach could get a hold of Pluton, that would make my life, man. That'd be everything for me. So
when I was making my ancient weapon video not that long ago, I obviously was watching back your Pluton videos, and maybe you said a lot of these, but man, like finding these details on your own that support a theory you hear about, like that just pushes you to believe in it. Like when I saw that the mole lady, I forgot what her name is it Merry Christmas?
Miss Merry Christmas.
Miss Merry Christmas. Yep. When I saw that they called her a town destroyer, I compared that to the island destroyer nickname they gave for Pluton, and I'm just like, oh my lord, this feels so obvious almost.
Yeah, it is crazy, dude, because I made my first couple mole theories like without some of what I consider the best evidence. Like, for example, I made the theory before I even talked about the helmet with the Mount Fuji thing on it, and then like after my second video, I think it was my second video. It was definitely after my first one. Someone was like, "Bro, did you realize that Mogura ports in Wano?" Like, it's like continue. And then you with that Miss Merry Christmas thing, I didn't even know that. So it's like, even after all the evidence, there's still things people are uncovering for it. So it really, it's like a crazy roller coaster right now, because I feel like we're going slowly up the top. You know what I mean? And like once we finally get Pluton, that's going to be the descent, and it's going to be super exciting. So I'm excited, man. I mean, even if it's not a mole, just once it is revealed, that's going to be so hype for everyone, because that was obviously set up in Alabasta. But if it is a mole, obviously, I'll be pretty excited.
We got Majin Crow with the 5. He said, "Have a great stream, my boys. Appreciate
what's
you."
Up, Crow? Hey, Crow's a homie for sure. Crow, I appreciate you, bro.
Hey, OPU hit 1,000 subs, man.
Yup. Hey, OPU, we do what we do. that's the slogan for OPU.
Hey, that goes hard.
It does. They got to get that on a shirt, bro. But no, I was just on OPU last night. They're a great group of guys. If you guys haven't checked them out, definitely check them out. They're
100%.
Super fun group of guys. That's the main thing. It's like you're just chilling with the homies, talking about One Piece. So
100%. Every time I've been around them, bro, they've just been such good vibes, man. I love what they got going on.
Yep. And yeah, like the whole group too is like 5 of them, and it's just they really play off each other well. I think it's like for all the basketball fans, I think it's like comparing TNT like with Chuck and Shaq and all those guys to the other crews. Like that's how I feel about OPU. They're just always joking with each other. So yeah, definitely check them out.
And Will of Jill with the 5, appreciate that. He said, or she, I don't know if it's he, I just assume genders here.
Well, I know Gil is a big Suns fan. That's the one thing I know. Sun God Booker, Will of Gil, right?
Sun God Booker. We need y'all two goats help. Buy a used car in cash or buy a new truck and pay $1K a month. I say buy the used car.
Let me see. Buy a used car in cash or buy a new truck and pay $1K. It really depends on what the used car is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we're talking, you're getting a used car that like you like, and it's from a certified place, or someone you can realistically trust. Definitely go the used car without question. As someone who bought a new car at one point in his life, buy the used car.
You're speaking from personal experience.
Yeah, like I said, unless it's like a used car that is in good condition and it's a car you like and stuff, then definitely do that. But it's like if the car is sketchy, then go new, because if it's breaking down, cars breaking down to me is the worst thing ever about having a car. Because it's like then you can't even use it. So
especially when you're on your way to a really important place or event, man.
That's exact.
So stressful.
the opportunity cost, like if you had a bad car and it broke down and like you missed an interview or a date or whatever it is, it's like, man, like I should have just got the new car. So that's the caveat.
To go back really quick to Egghead, there's always been the talk: are the Gorosei fighters? Do they have fruits? Are they elemental hockey? Ever since we saw the silhouettes of the animals, most people believe that these guys have mythical zones. I'm assuming you're in the same boat.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely scenario. I could see a world where, like, maybe they have a special thing that aren't exactly devil fruits. Like, maybe it's devil fruit without the downside of, not being able to swim or something, like some special thing. Like, I don't know exactly what that would be, but I could see a world where that exists, and that's why they're so powerful and stuff. But I think the most likely is mythical zones, yeah, for sure.
Now, do you see Saturn using a mythical zone against Luffy here on Egghead?
Yeah.
Or you think he's just gonna run the Seraphim or both?
Oh no, the Oda. So I mentioned this in, I think it was like 3 videos ago now, but Oda loves to introduce these crazy looking silhouettes that all look very similar, where it's like a black silhouette with white eyes, right? He always does this and then slowly trickles in the people over time. The numbers is like the most prototypical example. We see all of them, then slowly we get one after another over time. Maybe we get 2 or 3 at a time, but it's like groups of them at a time. The Impel Down beast, right? Like you get the silhouettes first, and then he trickles it in. It happens over and over. Literally, Lola in Thriller Bark it was another one where we got it as like a scary silhouette first, and she is like a giant boar creature, and there's all sorts of other Shadow Thriller Bark stuff that could tie to these Gorosei in some way, right? So basically, Oda is super consistent with this. So I think guaranteed, almost, I would put like a 99% on it. Saturn's gonna pull up. He's gonna show us his devil fruit at some point. We're gonna look at it and be like, "Oh man, this changes everything we thought about the other Gorosei." And then, you know what I mean? That's how Oda works. So I'm 100% on that boat. Definitely Saturn's gonna reveal it.
Now, when he reveals it on Egghead, what does that fight look like? Is he fighting Luffy? Is he fighting a trio? How does that look?
I like that question. I would suspect that what happens is he pulls up, he tries telling everyone how disappointed he is, or whatever. This is such a shame. We didn't have to do this, guys, but now you study this history. So I can see him coming in and talking a little bit. And then what I would like to see the most is, as they're talking, Robin is about to reveal something, like maybe the Ancient Kingdom name, or maybe like she's connecting the dots and saying like, oh, like this has all been about Uranus, hasn't it? Or something like some kind of connection where then he's like he turns into his beast mode thing. Is like, oh, I gotta kill her right now so she doesn't reveal any more information, like that kind of thing. And then Luffy steps in. So that way it's a mirror to the Ohara situation where Clover was going to reveal this big time information. But Robin does it. But this time, instead of the Gorosei calling in for someone to kill Clover, the Gorosei will be there themselves with Saturn. But Luffy will be there to protect her, which has been the whole thing, right? Like Nekomamushi, Robin, now that you know this info, you're gonna have strong people chasing you forever. And she's like, I got strong friends, I'm good. That is about to matter right now, I think.
I love all of that. Man, the idea of Robin following in the footsteps of Clover and trying to reveal some kind of information, that idea has had me on the edge of my seat for a while now.
I want the Robin hype, man. I want it. Everyone wants it. Everyone loves Robin, and Robin has, like, you look at Wano, that was her first fight in a long time, right? Like since Skypiea, that she had her own 1v1 fight. So like, the way I look at it is like, Robin is obviously always important because she can read the poneglyphs, but Oda has been kind of saving her a little bit because, like, she's going to be so important in the end game that it's like for a long time she didn't get a lot of focus, like with all the fights and stuff like that, for that reason. But now it's Robin's time because we're getting towards the end. So I'm ready for all the Robin hype. I want to see her having a big role. I mean, they're trying to, like, well, not right now, but in Wano, like, they were trying to kidnap her and stuff. So she's obviously, more important than she has been. So that, yeah, man, I want the Robin hype, man. I'm all about it.
So what kind of information do you see us leaving Egghead with? Like, what are going to be the big reveals if you see some?
I like that question too. if we're going like Void Century, Ancient Kingdom kind of reveals, I think we're gonna get the Ancient Kingdom's name. I think that is like, because that's a thing where, like, if it's revealed, it's not like, that's not knowing what the One Piece is. That's not, that's not quite the end game stuff, but that's like a big piece to it. Where if we're with Vegapunk, who has a robot from the Ancient Kingdom, has been studying the Void Century, knows a lot about the war or whatever happened during the Void Century. Now's the time to learn the name of it. Unless the name is too big of a spoiler, but that's the thing, is like, we're so close to the end. I feel like it's time to start getting this stuff. If it's not that, then I could just see like some generally like more like some backdrop info to the Void Century, maybe like a little bit about who the Gorosei were. We're getting that a little bit with like Emu, like Nerona Emu, so maybe we get a little more kind of backdrop info. But I think the Ancient Kingdom name is the most likely, and then that just kind of leads us to a send-off from Egghead, where we're kind of scrambling, like, what's going on. And then I think the most important thing, though, is Blackbeard, right? The very last thing we saw at Egghead was Blackbeard pulling up. So what does that mean, right? How is that going to parlay in everything? So I think we're going to get the Ancient Kingdom name, or at least something close to that. But then the most important takeaway is what Blackbeard's going to do, or his crew, whoever's pulling up. I think that's going to be like our main takeaway of like, oh, we got to figure this stuff out right now. Like, we got to figure out where Laugh Tale is. We got to go get everything done. If we don't hurry up, Blackbeard's going to take over. That's kind of what I hope happens.
So you see Blackbeard being on that ship, him specifically?
I doubt it, but even if it's his crew, with the way Blackbeard works, he's super meticulous. So whether he's there or not, like, I feel like they're gonna get what Blackbeard wants, I guess is what I'm saying. So it's kind of like, whether he's there or not, he's still gonna get the Seraphim or the information he's looking for, or just the Stella, whatever he wants out of Egghead. His crew, or if he's there, he'll get it. But no, I don't think he's on the ship though. Because especially showing us the Law fight, like the end of it, that kind of juxtaposition makes me feel like Blackbeard is still maybe heading to Hachinosu, which I think is the most likely scenario.
Gotcha. We got Friend Harper with the 10. Thank you so much.
That's a W.
They said, do you think that those monkey-looking guys from Jaya are minks, humans, or their own race? Luffy's reaction to them was hilarious, but those types of reactions tend to be foreshadowing something.
I like that. I never really thought about that. But they are like monkey minks, aren't they?
Yeah, I know that the One Piece Wiki, I remember looking this up a while back, and actually again recently, I'm pretty sure that they are humans with like monkey kind of makeup and kind of like a monkey cosplay, but I don't really remember that being confirmed in the manga, so I don't really know how the wiki came to that conclusion.
Yeah, that is weird. I'm looking right now just to see, yeah, it does say he's a human with ape-like features, but that's but I mean, the minks also said that they view humans as like hairless minks. Like hairless monkey minks, basically. So I could almost see that being a tie where like humans are monkey minks. They're just hairless monkey minks, basically, right? So I could maybe see a tie there.
So that kind of ties in my head. That kind of ties into Kong. Do you feel like Luffy's related to Kong? What's Kong's point in the story? What's his role?
Bro, if you have the answer to that, you be a super genius. That man, I have no idea. Like part of me, like, I would love for him to be relevant and strong and all that, but the fact that Oda has shown him like twice ever, man, I don't know. It's funny because you also think about Akainu, who's like not doing anything right now. Like, he's just always in his office for one reason. I've been around forever, and we had a civil war back in the day, and I quelled it, and like, we're gonna do it again. I could see something like that where like they've been saving it for that, but that's it. That's like the only thing. I
hate to do this, but I lagged out, and it ended the stream. Oh wait, did it end the stream?
No, not for me.
Okay,
it's not yet.
Okay. I think you might have lagged out at the beginning of that explanation. I don't even know why I lagged out.
Okay.
I am so sorry.
Oh, you're good. As long as we're back, because bro, YouTube's been crazy lately, at least for me.
Yeah,
But
man. I don't know what just happened. Bro, I bought a whole new like Wi-Fi adapter and everything. Like I think it's my PC at this point. I
do you
can't do
use
Ethernet.
Streamlabs?
Yeah, I use Streamlabs.
Oh, you can't do so you're doing Wi-Fi, not you don't have a direct connection.
No, I can't because of my
Okay.
whole setup.
I got you. Yeah, I have 100-foot Ethernet cable going from my room, like out, like into the kitchen, out the window in the kitchen, outside of my house, up through the upstairs window, because of like I'm in the same like boat. My Ethernet port, or like my modem or whatever upstairs, is opposite side of the house. So, but I will say it's a ton of, like, if you can't, then you can't. But if there was any world where you could, if it just took investment, it was a night and day difference plugging in the Ethernet cord and doing Wi-Fi with streaming. Like,
I need to figure it out, man.
it took quite a bit of work for me, but once I did it, I was like, my God, that was so worth it. Like, going outside, and it's like, it's running on the roof and stuff. Like it's super long, but real quick, I'll say this just about Kong. I'll sum it up and say I have no idea what's going on with him. I would love if Kong ever came back, but I don't know what Oda's doing. But I will say, if I could see one place for him to matter in the story, it's with this civil war going on, where like we seem to have the sword and regular Marine kind of conflict, and I could see Kong stepping in whenever that civil war starts and being like, I've been around forever. I've seen something like this. Whenever God Valley happened and I was in charge, we had a rebellion like this too, and I quelled it. We're gonna do the same thing. We're all here for the same mission. Like, he steps in and kind of quells the Civil War a little bit, or at least to some degree. I could see that, where he's like a unifying force, and that would be why Oda maybe hasn't shown him very much. But the fact Oda hasn't shown him also tells me he may just not be important.
Now, this is way off topic, but I've been toying around with this in my head, trying to figure out what his life and history looks like. Garling. How do you see Oda utilizing him? Is he going to be fighting current day? Is he just going to be like a flashback kind of guy? How do you see Oda executing him?
Bro, I don't know if you asked those questions back to back on purpose, but literally for the last like week, I've been messaging people randomly, and I've said it in a couple streams, just like, because I just want some people's opinions on this. Is Garling more of a Kong of the God's Knights than an actual God's Knight, if that makes sense? Like, is Garling an old figurehead, because he's the supreme commander of the God's Knights, right? He's not just a normal God's Knight, he's a supreme commander, which is a similar thing to Kong. He's the commander-in-chief, right? Or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's a very similar vibe to me, where you have these old guys with commander titles over everyone else, because maybe they aren't the top tier anymore, but they lead the rest of them, right?
Like a political position.
Exactly. And so what I think for Garling is, he used to be a God's Knight, but obviously he's old now. And I think it would just make sense that you would kind of pass on that title to like the next generation, over time. Like that's how everything works in One Piece, right? The Marines do it, the pirates do it. That's how everything is. Like you have the will get inherited by the next generation who are stronger and surpass you in some way, right? That's the whole game. So I feel like Garling definitely was a rock star back in the day, right? Like, undoubtedly. But I think he's, either because he's old, or because there's some special power to the God's Knights that he's lost. Like, my favorite idea, which I have a video on this, is that they're shadows, right? Like, the God's Knights are powered by shadows, like people in the past, because like Nightmare Luffy, right? He had shadows put into him and he got powered up. I think the God's Knights could be similar, and maybe Garling is a man who used to be a God's Knight, but the shadow got taken out of him, put into someone else, so now he's just a figurehead, but not actually as strong as the other ones, right? So that's what I see. But he definitely used to be a rock star. Like, I'm positive of that. He used to be strong, but I don't think anymore.
All right, keep that word shadow in mind, because I have another, I guess it's like a theory, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. I don't want to bring it up now. It's going to make your head fucking spin.
Hey, whenever you're ready, I'm ready, man. Whenever.
I think I might have missed the super, but Hako with the 2 months, evil Daksake Nakama.
Hako. Hey, wasn't Hako the one who got the
yeah? He was the one that got the gifted,
the
bro.
The W's. And then earlier, I don't know if you said this, the Will of Gill super chat, but he said Will of Jill.
Yeah, Will of Jill.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think that was the only other one. I was just making sure. Yeah.
Appreciate it. All right, you know what? I should just mention it right now because this is wild, man. So we were talking about, I was in VC on my Discord. I think this was like 2 days ago, or maybe it might have been yesterday. It doesn't really matter, I guess. But we were talking about, okay, we see S Croc, we see S Gecko, and we see S Flamingo. It looked like they were at Marijois, but on that panel, it said that Crocodile was spotted at Empty Bluffs. And a lot of people are getting the impression that the Seraphims, or at least those three, might have fought Mihawk and fought Crosskill. But me and the homie, we were taking it a step further. What if S Gecko, being based off Gecko Moria, has the fruit because it's a paramecia, and S Gecko steals the shadows of Mihawk and Crocodile, and they have to quite literally live in the shadow of Buggy.
Bro, wait. Okay, hold on. Wait. Okay, hold on. Now you're cooking. Well, first off, completely agree that S Gecko has the shadow fruit. All right, I've been singing this guy's praises forever. That's my favorite Seraphim, is S Gecko, and it's not even close, I would say. Like I've been waiting for him, and then so I agree with that. And then so now with the shadow idea, so I'll say this: part of my theory is that S Gecko is going to eventually end up under Blackbeard, because he wanted Moria to join his crew. The real Moria got locked up. It seemed like he said no, right, based off the context of what we saw, like in 1080, I think. And then he obviously wanted to get Boa's fruit, but couldn't. But now both of those people's fruits are available in Seraphim, and we have a Blackbeard ship going to Egghead. So I just want to say, I think that's the end game for S Moria or S Gecko. But what you just said blew my mind, because what if Moria takes the shadows, but then, like I was saying earlier with the Gods Knights or whatever, what if he puts the shadows in the Seraphim? Like, basically, what if it's like if you took Croc's shadow and put it in the Croc Seraphim, it would be like an insane power up for the Seraphim.
Jeez.
But I almost wonder if Croc could then take control of the Seraphim, if that makes sense, right? Because if you have Croc's lineage factor in the body, and then you add Croc's shadow to the Seraphim, which would give it a buff. That's how it works. Like if a living thing gets a shadow, it's a buff on top of their normal powers. So it's like, then since it's his shadow and his lineage factor in the body, could Croc almost just control it at that point? I mean, that was just something that popped in my head. So that's
a crazy thought.
Because all of them, well, at least Doflamingo, if they end up saving Doflamingo from Impel Down, which a lot of people have talked about, that could be another thing. You put Doflamingo's shadow in that thing. I mean, then the real ones couldn't like go out into the sun, but that was something crazy. Like that blows my mind, because that's. But I like the idea in general, though, that Moria goes and takes their shadows. I would say Haki, once you have a high level of Haki, it might stop people from taking your shadow, right? Because like Luffy had his taken early, so I could see a world where that happens. Like like Mihawk just flexes and his shadows can't get taken, but maybe everyone else's does. You know, like the rest of the like all the weak people that follow Buggy. Maybe Buggy's does, because Buggy's so weak. Which would be actually, dude. Okay, Buggy breaks his body into pieces. And so then having a shadow get separated instead of the rest of his body would make a lot of sense.
Wait a minute. Wait. I've never even thought about that. If Buggy split himself 5 ways, is that 5 shadows? It probably sounds like such a stupid question.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. Could Buggy split his shadow?
Like if he...
I'm saying yes.
Because
it's a part of you.
What?
You know what I mean?
So he has multiple shadows in a way.
He should be able to. Well, yeah, because like he can break his body into pieces anyway, so he could break it into pieces and then have the shadows get taken after the fact. So it's separate pieces of shadows.
Yup.
So, yeah, that's crazy.
That sounds so wacky. Like
you could. I'm just thinking like you could have a whole army of things
of Buggy shadows.
Yeah. That's wild. Or dude, or he just puts his shadow into all of the people that follow him, so they get a little bit stronger, and he doesn't even. Dude, wait. Oh my, dude. Because then, if Buggy gives up his shadow, he can't go out into the sun. So then it would just be a thing where he has an excuse to never go fight. You know what I mean? Like he can hide away.
He has an excuse.
I love that, dude.
All right, so I think someone mentioned it on my Discord this morning, and I think Ronnie just posted it again. Thank you, Ronnie. Shout out to Ronnie.
Shout out to Ronnie for sure.
What was it? A Vegapunk accidentally recreated Uranus. Let me explain. I didn't get the chance to watch this yet, but do you mind breaking that down for us? What's that all about?
Yeah. So that video ties a lot to Vegapunk's ties to Einstein, because Einstein I don't want to make it too confusing, because I know even if you go watch like a long documentary on these things, there's like so many caveats that people like don't want to get people confused. So I'll just say loosely, Einstein indirectly contributed to the ancient weapons, to the first nuclear weapons being created by signing a letter. He didn't actually work on the project directly, and he didn't want the weapons to be used, all that stuff, but he signed a letter that led to the Manhattan Project, which led to the bombs being used. And so I talk a lot about how that's going to tie into what Vegapunk's doing right now. And one of the biggest things for me is those bombs use plutonium and uranium, Pluton and Uranus, in the names, of the elements that are used in the first bombs. They're the only ones that were ever used. And then also, we know Einstein came up with E equals mc squared, right? The equivalence between mass and energy. And Vegapunk has been looking for energy sources and also studied the 21 grams of the soul. So there's like some really important ties between Vegapunk and Einstein that even tie to One Piece, right? Like stuff that we know about Vegapunk from One Piece. So all that was to say, what I think is happening is it's a recreation of the whole Pluton blueprints situation, where Frankie had blueprints for a counter to the ancient weapon in case the real one fell into the wrong hands. I think Vegapunk created blueprints for an ancient weapon, so like he had a counter to Uranus for the future, but York created it. So that was kind of a confusing way of explaining it, but basically, yeah, I think York actually made the weapon, not because it said Vegapunk's invention, but all of them go by Vegapunk. And I said it tied to the Manhattan Project. That's like what made the first nuclear weapons. Well, Manhattan's in New York, and York is the traitor of Egghead, right? So I'm thinking York made that weapon, and the reason why York has been keeping hostages was to basically use their souls as the energy source, going back to the 21 grams of soul, right? Like Vegapunk was studying the soul, which there's a mass attached to it, and also energy sources. So I'm thinking he figured that out a while ago, but he's like, that's not cool. Like, I can't kill people for energy. Like, that's messed up. But then York is like, well, I'll do it. And so that's why York 3 months ago was getting hostages. And those hostages started at CP5. CP5 was the group sent after Frankie to go, and Tom to go get the blueprints back in the day. Also, CP5 is the group that went to Morgan's to try to change the news, and then now we know Morgan's took off and went and got Vivi and knows about Egghead now and all this stuff. So it's like CP5 has been tied to all these things. So yeah, I think basically Vegapunk just created blueprints for a new Uranus. That's the Mother Flame. So it's a recreation of Uranus, but York made it. So Vegapunk created something that created the weapon. So he didn't do it directly, but he's going to sit there and be like, did I make a mistake making these things? Or because, I made this thing, then went and made a weapon that killed people, and that's not good. But like, so it's going to be a retelling of Frankie learning about the battleships. What you build, it's whatever it's used for isn't your fault, because you built it for a different purpose. You didn't want it to be used for this evil stuff. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if that made sense.
No, I got it. And you probably mentioned this in your video. A lot of people have been probably mentioned this in the video, but a lot of people have been comparing Vegapunk to Oppenheimer. Being that Oppenheimer, he has that whole speech because of the nukes. But then you also have that moment where Frankie blew up the laboratory over there on Karakuri Island, and that was intentionally in the shape of a mushroom cloud. Yep. Which plays into the whole nuke thing. I didn't even know that. You said plutonium and uranium. I didn't even know that.
And listen to this. In between, and shout out to 3Day from the last arc for posting about this like over a year ago. In between plutonium and uranium on the periodic table is neptunium, right? So Neptune, Poseidon. So you have all three, but the thing is only plutonium and uranium were used in the bomb. So you have all three ancient weapons right next to each other on the periodic table, but the one that wasn't used in atomic bombs, it ties to who we know as Shirahoshi, right? Who that isn't destroying, like blowing up things, right? It's a different kind of power. But we know Pluton can destroy islands in a single blast, and now we just saw something from the sky destroy an island in a single blast. So I'm thinking the underworld god and the sky god can destroy islands like that, but then the ocean god or whatever is, we already know who that is. So it ties so well into those elements, yeah.
We also have Greg with the 5. Thank you so much, Greg. Always coming through. He said,
I appreciate you, Greg.
Watched Dak's video and then found out that Einstein did research in 1906 and 1911 that is still used in rubber science.
I'm going to have to look that up immediately.
You probably regret missing that, huh?
Hey, it's crazy because I just did a big Nolan video that talked a lot about the ancient kingdom and how important the sky is and all that kind of stuff. And one of the cool things about Skypiea, and I can't remember the exact like dialogue or how this ties together, but like Luffy was made of rubber and went to the sky where there's a lightning god who the lightning god couldn't hurt him, but they didn't have rubber in the sky, right? I think that was said somewhere, like they have never seen this before or something like that. Well, because they don't have, that's right, because they don't have trees there, right? Like Verth was so crazy to them because they didn't have place to grow new plants, which rubber, like the origin of it grows on a tree, or it's like from a sap or originally. So they didn't have rubber. So it's like the sky didn't have rubber, and that's why they were weak to the electric, or, the electric god or whatever. And so now we're talking about Vegapunk creating, Einstein working on stuff involving rubber. Well, Vegapunk has studied the sky a ridiculous amount. That's like a lot of what I talk about in that video as well. So that could tie together too, where like if Einstein, helped discover rubber, or at least, new ways of producing rubber or whatever. Well, Vegapunk did a lot of sky stuff, which didn't have rubber in One Piece. So like that alone could be a connection. So I love that.
Yeah, and we already see that Vegapunk's like intrigued by Luffy and his fruit. Luffy doesn't even know the full extent of his fruit. Luffy just still thinks he's a rubber man. So I could definitely see a scenario where maybe Stella does make it out alive and he's able to, mess with Luffy, or maybe even give Luffy ideas about his fruit.
Yeah. I like the fact he had never heard of the gum fruit, right? Like he's like, that one, like, we know it as the Nika fruit or whatever. Like that to me is so big time. Like I wonder what that could mean. And I feel like I have to include this just because I forgot earlier, but it's going to matter a lot right now for the rest of this discussion. Is, so we all know about Egghead, but we have to remember, like Nami has weather eggs, which release clouds and lightning strikes, which is kind of similar to what we saw at Leloucia. And Roger's egg, a lot of people have tied that to Uranus, but literally Vegapunk could create sky island clouds with like a factory. You know what I mean? Like he could create like Egghead sits on clouds. It flies on clouds. You know what I mean? Because like there's like a smokestack under it creating sky island clouds. So Vegapunk has like ridiculous amounts of connections to the sky. And also he studied dragons, right? Like the dragon on Punk Hazard, there was dragon number 13, which is celestial dragon named, and the dragon fruit, right? Like Kaido's fruit. So he has like crazy amounts of connections to the sky and changing weather. You mentioned that earlier with Karakuri Island. All of this is like sky stuff. And so it makes me wonder, like, did Vegapunk visit a sky island in the past? And so we're talking about these rubber connections. Did he go there and maybe he introduced rubber? Like maybe he had like a rubber part on whatever ship he took up there, and then that was like some kind of introduction. But the main thing is just Vegapunk has some connection to the sky that's like deeply important. I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe he learned about Uranus as a kid, and that's like what he spent his whole life studying, and that's why he made Egghead and all this crazy stuff. I don't know exactly, but there's something there, guaranteed.
All right, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you because this is completely unrelated. Nerona Emu, what is that about?
Bro, I mean, I got tons of ideas. I will say this, obviously the Nero connections. You know, it there's a lot of good Rome theories. I think like Rome Peace from Hidden Island. I know him and Parr are working on another one. Everyone should be looking out for. So like those are. It's honestly a thing where like I'm not super duper familiar with like Roman history to where like I can start thinking about it much. So I'm kind of leaning on them to tell me. But I will say this: it being Nerona tells us very clearly that Oda is tying together like 3 or 4 major empires slash countries throughout history and somehow weaving them together in some beautiful way, because like that's like the Roman part of it. I mean, they all have like saint in their name, so we could have presumed Rome or Christianity, that kind of whole that thing was going to tie in, because they also have crosses everywhere and stuff. And then but they also have a lot of Spanish surnames, right? Like Garcia and Don Quixote. The Shandians, like, who are tied to the ancient kingdom, they're like based off the Aztecs, who were conquered by the Spanish. So there's like basically it's more confirmation that Oda has some like really deep ties to history here. So I'm excited to see what other people say. But one theory or thought that I have been sharing with people ever since I heard someone say it in a chat like a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago was Saint Charlos is going to be Saint Nerona Charlos.
Oh my lord.
That's all. That's all. Mic drop. That's all I gotta say.
Saint Nerona Charlos.
We don't have a family name for Charlos.
Why? How has that not occurred to me?
Dude, that's literally, I saw in a chat someone was like Nerona Charlos, and it I'm sure this happened to you before, where like someone says something and all the dots connect.
Yeah.
Like, one moment. Bro, my brain lit up. I'm like, oh my god, we don't have the family name, or for Roswald either. They're the first ones we met, and like we punched him, so it's gonna like be even deeper where Luffy punched someone who's related to Emu. I was like, it's guaranteed. Like,
yeah, man.
I heard that and I was like, oh my god, Oda's not gonna miss that opportunity. There's no chance.
All the focus he's given Charlos throughout the story, all the like you said, the punch. It would feel very Oda to hide his name up until the very end. Oh, he's related to Emu. Like what?
And also, a lot of people have talked about Vivi being an ancient weapon, or like controlling the power of an ancient weapon, however you want to call that, like being Uranus or Pluton, right? Uranus probably more commonly, and now Emu wants Vivi. And it's funny because you look at Charlos and what's he done? He's wanted Poseidon. He did it twice during the Reverie, right? He was trying to get Poseidon, not knowing it was Poseidon. But like, you could look at it that way. Like the Nerona family just keeps hunting ancient weapons. You know what I mean? Like they know, they have like a nose for it. So I think it's happening.
Now you've probably, I'm assuming you've thought of Emu being a D before. Have you played around with that idea?
I have played around with it. I just saw the poll. I like the question a lot. I love the discrepancy in answers right now, where it's either 90+% or 0. Like nobody's picked the middle ones. Okay, somebody just did. Yeah, I've thought about it. It's funny because I think Emu could be a D in the same way that Blackbeard is one, where it's like most Will of D's would not go about it the way that Blackbeard is, but maybe they're all still pursuing kind of the same loose goal. So I could see a world where Emu is a D, or maybe even like the first D, or someone who was a D and dropped the name, like something like that. But it's tough because like you look at Sabo, who technically doesn't have like the D in his name, but I would say he definitely has the Will of D, because he's inherited Ace's will, and he's Luffy's brother, and he's with Dragon, like all this stuff, right? Like obviously. So it's kind of tough, because I think we're starting to reach a point to where it's like, what does it really mean to have the initial D? Like, is it just the initial that you're born with, or is it just that you choose to inherit it, or is it just the type of person you are? Like it's, so I guess it's kind of like a wishy-washy answer, where I could see, I guess I'll say this. In some way, you could say Emu's going to have a D, but now is Emu like a true D member like the other ones? Definitely not. But like the way I think of it is Nerona Emu was one of the 20 kings, and was probably like Stelly, like probably like a really greedy, weak person probably for the most part. but then in their pursuit for power worked with someone else to get the top spot in the whole government, right? And that's Mu, or whatever this darkness is, like, kind of loosely speaking. So Emu and Mu are maybe two different people, and so maybe Mu, or whatever these powers are that Emu has, whatever this is, maybe that's owned by a D member, but the original Emu, the king that was from 20 years ago, maybe that wasn't a D member. So like there's, you know, maybe like two people in the same body almost, like controlling somebody. So yeah, I could see a tie there. I doubt the original Emu is a true D, but I could see a connection for sure.
We got Aether with the 2. Where did Giant Jack grow from if no Verth is in the sky? I have no clue.
That's a great question. What Gonfall told us was that they can't grow new crops without Verth, but they can, like, I don't know if he said it this explicitly, but they obviously like eat like plants up there, so like they're able to grow something. So I think the way it works is they can't grow stuff from like seeds up there, but if they already have a plant that's grown, they can like keep it alive and keep it like reproducing stuff, if that makes sense. So what I would guess is that Giant Jack is from a long time ago, and like once it was grown, then it was placed in the sky, and then they just left it there because like it can only sustain itself. They can't grow new crops from seeds. But I am kind of like maybe reading into it a little bit too much, because like we don't know all that much. It was literally like one little discussion between him and Zoro in front of the bonfire. Like it was just like a quick thing, like, hey, where'd you guys get that food? Like, yeah, we can't grow stuff up here, so that's really interesting. And like that was it. So so yeah, that's my guess. It was put there a long time ago. Like it probably grew on the Blue Sea, and then they put it up there. Maybe it got sent up by the knockup stream a long time ago or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because now you have Adam Tree, Eve, Treasure Tree, or the Knowledge Tree. Then you have this Beanstalk. It's like, what was going on? Was the original Joy Boy just enlarging trees? Like, what's your thought process when you think of Sunlight Tree, Eve, and Adam and all that?
Yeah, well, I'll say this: botany is undoubtedly huge in the past of One Piece. I have no doubts. Hidden Island did a video called Green Line that talked a lot about this that I liked. I talked about it in my Nolan video recently. Because I think one way we could look at this is with all these different trees, like the Tree of Knowledge is like 5,000 years old. It was like planted 5,000 years ago or something, which is insane. And like the Sunlight Tree Eve goes all the way down to pretty much the sea floor, all the way to the top of the Red Line. So it's like, okay, these are insane trees. The whale tree on Zoe, right? Like, how does that even happen? So there's no doubt that these are important, because the main power in One Piece, or well, other than hockey, like the fun powers in One Piece come from devil fruits, right? Like they would normally grow on trees. And we look at Usopp, who is known as a god and is a botanist essentially. Like I guess you could call him that now that he had the time skip and stuff, right? He has the pop greens and all that. So it's like, and he's supposedly tied to Nolan, or he said he was, and Nolan was like a world-class botanist. So to me, there is no doubt that botany is going to be really important, and it could even tie to this Verth stuff, right? Where like Verth, like up in the sky, like, oh, this is so crucial. Like we love this. Verth is admiration itself. This is everything to us. And the people on the moon, who were the Skypians, Shandorians, and Birkins, they came to the Earth for resources, right? So there is a continual plot line, or plot thread, you could say, of the Earth being important because it grows stuff, because it provides resources for people to live. So now going back to all these big trees and like what these all mean throughout history, it tells me that the Ancient Kingdom knew a lot of stuff about growing plants. You know what I mean? That's what it tells me. Devil fruits, these tall trees, the Tree of Knowledge, like all this stuff. I mean, the Red Road Poneglyph being inside a whale tree. I mean, that's all crazy stuff. Also, I just saw that super chat. My guy, Baby Mole. I appreciate you.
Oh my lord. 100.
Baby Mole. That's a big W.
Baby Mole, bro. Nah, bro. Thank you so incredibly much, man. I wish I had perfect words, man. Thank you so much. Huge 100 bomb, bro.
That's crazy.
Damn.
So generous, bro. Appreciate you, Baby Pluton.
Greatly appreciate you, bro. And you've been showing up to my streams for so long, months and months, probably over a year at this point. Always coming through supporting, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember Baby Pluton from like the day I started streaming, probably, like, because I always see Pluton over in Parvision streams. I think, yeah, Parvision. So no, big shout out to Baby Mole.
Baby Mole, man. I'm here for this mole shit. I can't wait, bro.
Love to Sandville and Pops LOL.
Yeah,
love
same.
to Sandville. He said Sandville, bro. Hey, so narrator with the 2, thank you, and Aether for that previous 2. I think I forgot to say thanks. Of course, thank you too. But narrator said, put some respect on Sa-Di-Bo. What was what was going through the mind of Dak when he read that panel? Sa-Di-Bo.
Well, first off, I just want to say major shout out to narrator. I love narrator. It's a regular over on my channel too. Hope you've been good, bro. It's been a minute. I haven't streamed for like a month or 3 weeks, but anyways, yeah, so about Sa-Di-Bo, I didn't pick up on it right away, but my chat quickly hit me up during that reaction about the sad boy connections, right? So when I first read it, I thought it was kind of a joke. Like, not like a pure joke, but I'm like, okay, seems funny. I'll go back and look at it later. Like, it didn't really hit me how big that was. But then you have the Joy Boy and Sad Boy connections, right? You have Sabo being an old, like someone who used to be a royalty, I guess not a celestial dragon, but a royalty of Goa, which is like where Luffy's from, which is big time, and then now carrying the will of D. And then you look at Stelly, who took Sabo's spot, and Stelly wanted to sit on the empty throne, but Sabo was the one to actually see somebody on that empty throne. So there's like a lot of connections there. So I think there's definitely something here where the Joy Boy Sad Boy thing, Ace's like smile and frown on his hat. I'm fully convinced there's something there. I don't think that's just a throw in. I think, like, my guess, I'm not saying this 100%, but maybe Sabo dies at the very, very end of the story. Not, if it did happen to be like the last chapter, not. I doubt Oda wants to keep killing off all the brothers, willy nilly. But maybe that's why he's sad, boys. He dies, or maybe the sun goes out and he recreates the sun with his powers or something, right? I don't know, something like that.
You know what? When I always thought or looked at Ace's little pendant with the smile and the sad face, I always like looked at it as like, okay, that's the common phrase of smile now, cry later. But I didn't even like put it into perspective in terms of like Luffy, Joy Boy, Emu. That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it myself. Someone said it in my chat. I think it was Brandon King who said it that day. That's what my brain's telling me. Brandon King's always dropping knowledgeable stuff. But yeah, like once someone said that, like, hey, Sad Boy and Joy Boy, that was on Ace's hat all along, and here, you got 2 people carrying his will, basically. I'm like, oh, that's your typical Oda 5D chess move,
100%.
Like, so I think that's it.
And we got Doron with 2 gifted memberships and 3-Day with a gifted. Thank you both. How many members? 472.
That's wild. That's a lot, man. That's awesome. Hey, major shout out to the 3-Eyed Gang or 3-Eyed Tribe, whatever you guys call it.
The 3-Eyed Tribe, 3-Eyed Gang, same difference.
Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same.
Man, we like a month or like a few weeks ago, we were 6 something, like super, super high. Just because, bro, my community is so unbelievably generous, man.
The One Piece community is the best, man. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, how we're right in the middle of this storm of, we're almost like in the Florian Triangle of One Piece greatness right now. We got the live action, the anime, and the manga all coming right now, and just seeing the community show out like the. I mean, they've been doing this for years. You know what I mean? But it's just a special time to be here, bro. Like we seriously are so blessed to be, making One Piece content while it's going live, and like it's like a story like this only comes around once every so often, and we get to come on here and talk about it in front of these awesome people. So it's amazing. And bro, who was that? Oh,
Dion. Of course, bro. Of course.
I can't even finish talking about how great the community is, and we get more evidence. You know what I mean?
We get more evidence, bro. Thank you, Dion, man. This dude's legendary, man. Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Y'all are so generous. I love seeing this, for real. This is awesome.
Make sure y'all show out for Dak too when he's live on his channel. Y'all better show out.
I appreciate that. Like I said, it's been 3 weeks or so since I've been live, but actually, I guess I don't have this like 100% confirmed, but the 1 year anniversary of me starting YouTube is actually this Wednesday. So like four days away. Yeah, 4 days away. I'm trying to get a little stream planned, but I'm waiting. I'm hard to get a lot of the schedules aligned right now. So I definitely gonna have some cool stream next week to celebrate 1 year for sure.
Let me know, man.
I definitely will. And this is even more evidence, like we were just saying, that the community is goated. For me, I like saying this all the time. If any of you guys ever thought about making a YouTube channel, whether it's One Piece or whatever, like you can start it and do a couple things right and get lucky here and there, and you can be doing the same thing we're doing. It happens. Like literally a year ago today, I had 0 videos and nobody knew who I was. Like it can happen. You know what I mean? You guys can definitely. I know you guys already got the theorizing skills. Just gotta learn a little video editing and get a decent mic, and you never know what could happen. So I just want to say that you never know.
Yeah, you guys have to be brave and confident. When I first made my video of Blackbeard being an octopus, the very, very first video I ever made, I was like, oh man, people are probably gonna hate this. They're gonna roast me. I'm gonna get screenshotted. But I sat there and I bumped my head. I had to take losses. I had to make mistakes. That's just a part of life. Yep. LeBron made mistakes. Albert Einstein made mistakes. No one's perfect. You guys just have to be confident and have that self-belief that no matter what obstacles in front of me, I'm gonna figure it out and I'm gonna keep going.
Yep. No, and that's literally it. Like, some of you guys might go see like some of our successful videos or like see us on stream and think I'm not saying all of you guys think this, but maybe you think like we know like we have everything figured out, or we're like ultra super confident in everything we're doing. Like no, like we're normal people too, trying to figure things out. Like we just got lucky, here and there. I mean, not saying everything's luck. Like there's definitely some hard work and skill involved, but also luck a little bit. And it's possible for everyone to do this. I would say, if you put your nose to the grindstone and keep trying, like it can happen. You know what I mean? It's not rocket science, but at the same time, it's not complete serendipity. Like if you keep trying and keep working, it can happen. And I'll also say this. Whenever I got started, the biggest thing I was worried about was my voice. I was like, man, I don't like listening to myself. I don't think anyone's gonna like it. I'm gonna get comments making fun of me, and then I'm gonna get dejected, not want to do it. And that has been like everything that I thought was a problem has not been a problem, and the things that I thought might be problems, I wouldn't even say they're problems, but those are the challenges. So It's like whatever you just got to go in and try it, and then see how you feel, because you genuinely don't know what you're going to struggle at or what you're going to be good at or whatever until you get in there. So I would just try it. That's the main thing.
100%. And just to kind of put the cherry on top, you said luck. I definitely believe that hard work will lead you into a lucky situation. If you were making music, you had to go in the studio every day to make songs and make albums in the first place to have one of those even blow up. The hard work will put you in position to get lucky at some point for sure. Yeah, I appreciate all you said.
Oh, you too, man. No, you got the right attitude, and I just typed it in the chat too. One of the biggest things this is a lesson. I heard it on some TV show. I don't remember what it was, but it hit me so hard. I was like 9 years old, and I've been holding this with me ever since. Fate favors the prepared, right? That's what it means. If you want to get lucky, it's not just pure luck. It's that you prepared yourself to capitalize on that luck. Right, like you're gonna have situations pop up every so often that you can take advantage of. But if you're not prepared to take advantage of it, then it's not gonna, work out for you very well. So it's all about working as hard as you can, be the best you can, and whenever those opportunities present themselves, you just go for it. Be naively optimistic. Mark Rober talked about that in his commencement speech at MIT the other week, and I've been saying that a lot too. Just be naively optimistic. There's a million reasons it could go right, a million reasons it could go wrong. Just focus on the millions reasons it could go right instead.
Hey, I've been waiting for someone to say this. 3Day just said it in chat, and it's been on my mind. And I literally told myself I'm not gonna say it, and I'm gonna wait for someone else to say it too. 3Day said Dak would make a great sports announcer. I've always felt that way. When I'm watching your videos, I legit feel like I'm playing Madden, bro.
That is all of my real life friends that I like, all my college friends and high school friends, if they saw that, they would die, dude. Like they would think that's the funniest thing ever because they said the same thing. Like when I was like a sophomore in undergrad or junior or whatever, I remember so many people telling me like, Dak, you need to go do radio or like sports broadcasting or whatever. I was like, man, that is so not my thing. Like I'm not, you know, I didn't watch YouTube back then. I was I wouldn't say completely different human, but I was into much different things than I am now. And I'm like, I don't know. That means a lot. You guys would say that. It almost brings a tear to my eye just because I know other people said. One of my teachers in high school said that too. So,
Hell yeah.
Maybe I should do it. I like basketball enough. So.
You never know, man. Maybe your channel, the right guy's gonna run into your channel. You never know.
Once I start that basketball channel, I'll reach out to my guy Stephen A. Smith. I'll get him on there.
Okay.
Hey, I'll say this real quick. Actually, just a cool thing. So there's an NBA YouTuber. He's one of the biggest YouTubers. His name's KOT4Q or Kenny. Anyone who watches NBA YouTube knows who he is. He's probably the biggest one, or I think he is. Anyway, he got into One Piece recently. And he loves it, and he even started a manga channel and dropped a couple videos, and so he's huge, right? And he's even talked to Stephen A. Smith. So in my brain, I have this like roadmap, like, all right, when Kenny gets caught up, I'm gonna get him on stream to talk about One Piece, and then once I make that connection with him, I'm gonna get connected to Stephen A. Smith, and then I was like, I got the plan.
Nah, that's genius, yo. I
would love it.
We got Young Usopp with the 5. Appreciate it.
My guy.
Bro, he's been pumping out music for a minute. Shout out to Young Usopp, bro.
Big shout out to Young Usopp.
He said, Oda showed us Gaimon. He is an X of origins of the Adam and Eve trees. Giants that turned into trees. Perhaps from a punishment just like Zunisha.
Ooh. I kind of like that. Like, I like the idea that, well, now I'm thinking two different ways on it. It could be that they were punished and turned into trees, which I have a short about the whale tree actually being a whale turned into a tree. Like it was actually a living whale, and maybe like Green Bull's awakening, like that fruit awakened and churned a living thing into a tree, which is still alive, right? It's just a different form of a living thing. And so I'm looking at this, like that could be a similar thing. Where maybe it could be Green Bull's fruit or whatever, but it could even be the Ancient Kingdom. Like they just figured out how to turn people into plants or something because like they were botanists, right? Apparently, there seem to be tons of ties to botany, and so I like that a lot. Or it could just be that Gaimon is an example of like tree people, like a tree race, which I would like that too, like a plant race. Which, shout out to Parvision with the Zoro. Zoro is a plant, or there's plant people, whatever the theory tagline is.
Zoro is a plant.
I like that.
But you had me thinking. So with Green Bull, right? What if his awakening could turn someone into a tree? Yeah. Like if he plays into the whole forest god thing. Which, by the way, let's jump into that if you don't mind. The quad gods. What's that about?
Yeah. So I think whenever it comes to those gods, the most important thing to remember is that Luffy's fruit. Like the reason Luffy's the sun god is because of the fruit, right? It's not like there are chosen ones. I mean, maybe there are because like these fruits have wills, but it's not like people are born as the gods. It's that the fruits give them powers like this specific god, right? So Luffy having the sun god fruit, he doesn't even have sun powers or anything he can stretch. So when it comes to the other ones, I think we got to think outside the box because it's not like Green Bull. That's like way too straightforward for me. Not saying it's completely wrong because Oda's definitely done some straightforward stuff before. But I think they're going to be unexpected things. But I do think they're going to matter though. I've kind of gone back and forth over it. Like, is this just a random thing Oda threw in there, or is it going to matter? And I think with Skypiea gaining more and more importance. I think it has to be like there has to be three other fruits. And if I had to give ideas for which ones, which I didn't in a video, I think Chopper is actually going to be the forest god, which kind of sounds crazy. But then I think Sengoku or Blackbeard with the tremor fruit would be the earth god. I think both of those are good or plausible because Sengoku has a Hito fruit that's a mythical version already, which ties in, and he can create shockwaves like the tremor fruit comes with. So he kind of fits in a little bit. And then the rain god, I feel like is going to be Buggy. That's one I feel most confident in is Buggy.
Yeah, Buggy rain god. That's a wild one.
Yeah, because like he can break himself up into raindrops.
Yup.
I like that.
The sound effect too.
Yep.
The automatopoeia, is that what it's called?
Yeah, and just the fact he's like Luffy's opposite, like he falls upwards as well. Like, I'm done thinking Buggy can't get any better. You know, I'm done. He's emperor now. He just talked a little stuff to Crocodile and Mihawk to their faces and was right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I'm done. I'm done sleeping on Buggy. I'm done. I feel like Rain God makes sense for him.
Yeah, when throughout Wano, when we were getting the whole Nika stuff for Luffy, I was one of the first people to jump on the Quad Gods video, and since that happened, that was actually one of my best performing videos. But we saw Luffy getting compared to Nika, and I was like, damn, like what's gonna be the theme here? I feel like all four are gonna be used, and I had this thought process of like, what if all four of the gods right now fall under different allegiances? Like we have the pirate sun god, then we have a marine forest god for Green Bull. I forgot how I built the connection of Green Bull to forest god, but I did it way before Green Bull showed up. Then I connected the rain god to the Revs, and then I connected someone in the world government. It might have been Emu to earth god, being that Emu's like the king of the world. And I was like, damn, that'd be so cool. So then when we finally see Green Bull show up, and he has like that similar pose to Luffy when he was on fire, and he has like this whole forest devil fruit, man, that just made me feel like he's gonna definitely use the four gods, even if maybe if Green Bull's not the forest god.
Yeah, no, I like that idea, like that it would be one, like each god represents kind of each faction, or probably the way One Piece, or Oda is thinking about it is each one represents a different side to freedom, or like how they view a free world, so it's like the sun god is ultimate freedom, everyone can do literally what they want. Maybe the rain god is like I mean, I've said this before. Buggy and Luffy are the complete opposite sides of freedom. They embody freedom in complete opposite ways. Where Luffy can stretch himself into being any form that he wants. Where the rain god, if it is Buggy or whoever it is, or water in general, like where Luffy can stretch into any form, like Buggy could break himself up and reassemble himself into any form, or like a rain god, like a liquid, like liquids fill the physical space they're in, right? So where Luffy can stretch himself to be whatever shape, Buggy might be able to like almost turn liquid, or whoever the rain god is can almost turn liquid and reshape themselves however they want as well. So it's a very similar thing, right? So, but even regardless, Buggy and Luffy, they've always been opposites. Where like Buggy, like he can break himself up, which is a very, like Luffy can't do that. That's a type of freedom Luffy can't do. Like, break himself up and fly. As long as his feet are on the ground, fly his body parts around. Those are complete opposites. But then like Buggy can't get cut, but he gets beat by physical attacks, and Luffy's the opposite. So I like that, where they're all like different versions of freedom. But I'll say there's either two versions. There's either the one you said where they're all different factions, or there's one where they're all like, it could be different factions, but like of life. Like I don't know how to put that. Like Luffy's just a random go-lucky kid. Like I said, Chopper's the forest god. That could be like animals. Like that's why he's from the forest. He's like an actual animal from the forest. And then I said Sengoku for the earth god. Like he is in the Marines, but he's like a good guy in the Marines. So they're all like good sides to different parts of life. I guess I could see that too. But either way, I like that. Like Emu being earth god, I feel like the thematic of it makes a lot of sense. So I think there's a good chance of that too.
And then we have Brandon King with the 2. Appreciate you, my boy. Shout out to Randy. S Crocodile has Eva's fruit.
What you think about that before I go? Because I've talked to Brandon King about it, so I want to get your thoughts on it first.
I haven't been a fan of Crocomom or like Crocodile's a woman. I always felt like it was a flimsy argument, but I feel I feel like Oda is gonna give in to the fans and he's gonna do some shit. I feel like Oda's very aware of the Crocomom stuff. And dude, oh my, it would be fucking hilarious. As much as I, don't agree or whatever, it would be actually hilarious if he did that.
Like, that's what I've been saying is the thematic element to it, the meme ability, all that is so in line with Oda, and I could totally see him doing it, and it makes a lot of sense, honestly. But my biggest issue with the idea is that Ivankov was locked in level 5.5. Like, they didn't know where Ivankov was in Impel Down for most of the time. So how did they get Ivankov's lineage factor to go use for that? And then you could maybe say, maybe just before Ivankov went missing, or whenever Ivankov first got put into Impel Down, they took some lineage factor. But then in my mind, I'm like, well, if we use Doflamingo as an example, because we saw someone approaching him after he was locked in Impel Down, you know what I mean? Like, he was locked up, like, who's coming for me? Are you here to kill me? Whatever. If we make the assumption that was someone getting his lineage factor, which I feel like is the case, then that would tell me that this lineage factor stuff is more recent, and they don't get it when you're first brought to Impel Down. They do it like they select the people and go do it. So all that's to say that Ivankov, the timing doesn't seem like it should be possible, or it would at least be somewhat of a stretch. So if that is the case, like, I love it regardless. But so if it's not that one, the one that I want, which Randy also mentioned this in his video, and the second I saw it, I was floored. I feel like this is the answer. Is Magellan's fruit.
Oh,
that's what I want.
Boy, that fruit's so broken.
He's got the poison hook already. Magellan is regretful, and like, he's with the government anyway, so getting his lineage factor is not a problem. That's a powerful fruit. It's a paramecia that acts like a Logia. Oh, sorry. It's a paramecia that acts like a Logia, so S-Croc would probably already be used to using it to some degree. You know what I'm saying? So I like the poison fruit. I also just love Magellan, so maybe I'm biased, but Ivankov would be fun, though. It'd be the more fun.
You would have like categories. If you want to go the badass route, Magellan. If you want to go the meme route, Ivankov.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, like, and I've also heard like the wax fruit, Mr. Threes. My biggest issue with that is that Mr. 3 is in the Cross Guild, so I just couldn't see that getting reused. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Mr. 1, like, his fruit got used in the Mihawk Seraphim, but like, obviously, like, the Mihawk Seraphim isn't even going to Empty Bluff. So like, Oda's like keeping the powers separate, so the same two powers aren't in the same spot. Other than maybe Kuma's, because the S-Bear can do the bubble stuff. There are bubbles already on Egghead. The Mark 3s can do like bubble shields. So other than that, it seems like Oda's trying to not have the same power in the same place. So yeah, I doubt it's the wax fruit. I'm definitely poison or hormone for sure.
And I was actually thinking, like, it would be really cool. I wouldn't mind the Magellan thing, and I'm warming up to the hormone in terms of memes. But King J actually sparked the idea in my head about S Crocodile having Pika's fruit, because that was a paramecia, and we know that in real life, sand comes from stone. Pika's fruit is the stone fruit. So I was like, okay, there's a little bit of a theme going on there. We know that Jinbei had Senior Pink's fruit. He's the Don Quixote pirate. So, if S Crocodile has Pika's fruit, that's again another Don Quixote pirate's fruit being replicated. So I've also been thinking about that. It's not the most exciting thing, but just throwing that out there.
Yeah, no, I the sand connections, like, to stone, like, it's like the next step up to what he was using. I mean, the sand Logia is probably better, but it's like a similar vein, so he'd already know. I like that angle a lot. My biggest caveat for it, though, is that with Pizarro having the island fruit, I'd be really surprised if Oda keeps doing this, like, because we already had Pika once. Now we see the island fruit, which seems to be the improved version of that, or at least it's kind of close to that. And so then to bring it back again and be like, okay, we're doing a little bit too much with all that. So that'd be my biggest caveat.
That's a very fair point.
Yeah, I think Randy said that in his video as well, if I remember correctly. But it would be cool though. Like someone actually, well, yeah, I'll say it. Someone actually smart. You know, Pika was a little crazy. So like,
you had to hold your back.
Actually knows.
You had to hold yourself back.
Should I dog Pika right now? Yeah, I'll dog Pika right now. You know, I don't know. I would have used the fruit differently, but I wouldn't turn into a giant statue that clearly could have got cut off, and then I'm screwed because there's no more rock to connect to. But yeah, anyways.
Any Pika enjoyers in chat? Any Pika enjoyers?
There can't be. Pika got 0 votes on the popularity poll.
I don't even doubt that, dude. Forgettable. Now, but I right now, after that little quick discussion, I gotta side with Magellan. I got to, man. Oh, yeah. That'd be so sick, man.
He would just be so OP. That's maybe my favorite part. Like, obviously the poison hook, like that should matter. Like that'll be the main reason. But just think about S-Croc going in, like with the expression we saw him have, and he's just poison everywhere, like not phased. He has no expression on his face. He's just like looking, you know, normal, like all business as always, you know, real suave. And then the actual crocodile comes out, and he's like, "Well, what is going on?" You know, like. Like, and then you could even have a thing, I don't know exactly how these powers would interact, but like sand, which can dry stuff, and then poison, like I really wonder how that could play into each other. Like, just for an example, like, could Croc dry out like the poison before it gets to him, like take out the water so like it crumbles into like a dry thing so it doesn't even go into his bloodstream, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, there could be just really cool ways to tie it together, so...
And then, of course, we had Dion with the 20 gifted. Thank you again, my man.
Big W. Big W.
Young Usopp with the 5. Thank you so much. He said, Usopp and Skypiea said that he is the king of the jungle. Could that be a foreshadow of him getting Green Bull's devil fruit for himself or his Kabuto?
I gotta, hey, young Usopp, send me that, not that I'm doubting you, please send me that panel for my own research purposes, because that's massive. I did not know he ever said that, like, because we know Usopp, you know, whenever he says something, it's just fact at this point. So, but as for him getting Green Bull's devil fruit, I think we're kind of late in the story for anyone other than Blackbeard to like kill somebody, take their fruit, and eat it. You know, like I don't know, like I don't know if Oda's gonna start killing people off and having the fruits transfer this late. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it would be him getting a devil fruit for himself or Kabuto. Although I do love the idea that his Kabuto gets Kanjuro's fruit, and then he can like draw stuff with the Kabuto and like have like unlimited ammo in like the bag, because like it just, you know, like the ink could just make ammo. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I like that. But I would say the King of the Jungle thing is probably more so for his botany. Like if he said it in Skypiea, then that's before the time skip where he kind of became the King of the Jungle a little bit by learning all the pop greens.
So what are your thoughts on the Straw Hats getting fruits? Do you think certain ones are going to get fruits for their weapons? Do you think certain ones are going to eat fruits? What's your stance on that?
I think if anyone is going to get one, it would be one of Zoro's swords would get one, which I'm not saying that's like even likely, but that's like a realm that I could see. I think Usopp's Kabuto is in a similar vein where I could see that one. Because, you know, like Nami just got Zeus in the Climattact, right? So that's like not getting a devil fruit, but almost like getting a devil fruit in your weapon. So I think, like, when it comes to getting an actual devil fruit, I'm not sure, but I do think there will be like adjacent power-ups, even if it's not an actual fruit, right? So especially because now we're with Vegapunk and he has like these hologram things. Like, who knows how that's all going to matter? Like, what if Usopp starts making hologram attacks? Like, he can turn light into real things, so he just can make literally whatever he imagines as an attack. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of spitballing. So yeah, I think Zoro's sword, Usopp's weapon, and then the biggest one for me is Franky needs an upgrade. I don't think it's going to be devil fruit exactly, but Hidden Island did a video on this. I feel like I'm shouting out Hidden Island like every 2 seconds, but
he's that guy, man.
Yeah, he is. He's got whenever he drops a video, you know it's fire. He did a video on Franky getting green blood cola, essentially. So kind of like I was saying, I don't know if it would be like actual devil fruits that anyone gets, but like adjacent things. So like Franky, maybe he can get green cola, so he can like get different devil fruits in his body. Like he can swap it out. Like, hey, I need to use this fruit. All right, I'm going to swap it out and use this fruit now. You know, because he can replicate the green blood. So that I can see. And maybe that's even how they come to, like, maybe Frankie like learns that, and then maybe he does a test on Luffy, and he either tells Luffy like, hey, this is actually a zone, like I can't replicate your power, this is actually a zone, or it's the reverse where they learn it's actually a zone, which they did. They heard, like, the rest of the crew heard about the Nika fruit, right?
Drop a like on the stream, y'all.
Vegapunk. So maybe it's even the reverse where Frankie tries to duplicate Luffy's like, hey Luffy, I was able to make your fruit again, so it's not a zone. And then like maybe that just leads into some important discussion about like the truth of the fruit. But that was, long-winded way of saying Zoro, Usopp, Frankie, I feel like, are most likely.
Yeah, a while ago, I doubt you saw this because it was like a long time ago. I made a tweet saying that Zoro might put a fruit in his sword, and Jesus, that reply section, I was getting fried, bro, because they're like, that makes no sense. Zoro's a real swordsman. It's gonna ruin everything about him.
Bro, I did a video talking about basically what Zoro's swords will be like end of the story, like what 3 swords will he have, or what will happen to the swords he has by the end, just like what's the best, like Zoro's going to end up with probably the 3 best swords in One Piece or close to it by the end. How does that happen? Like that was the focus of the video, and one of my ideas was the same thing, and I'm sure you talked about this too, because Oda said that like if all the Straw Hats had devil fruits, these would be it, and he said for Zoro it wouldn't be him, it would be his sword getting Kaido's fruit, which it would be amazing, right? And the thing is, we're at Egghead with Vegapunk, who can duplicate Kaido's fruit, right? And he gets the color wrong on the dragon. He can't get the color right? The first one was blue, the next one was pink. So what if he tries doing it again, but the dragon is green? And then it goes, and then he also, Vegapunk is the guy who can put devil fruits into inanimate objects. He is the guy who knows how to do this. That was part of his introduction when Kobe talked about him. So maybe he shows us how to do that by actually doing it and putting it in a sword. Like all the pieces are here. I'm not saying it is going to happen, but it would be foolish to ignore the possibility, is what I would say.
Hey, all I'm gonna say is during Wano, what did Oda sprinkle in? The teapot with the raccoon fruit, right? Why is he sprinkling this? We still, even as far as back as Alabasta, wasn't it a gun that ate the dog fruit? That was the way it was used, right? Or was it the other way around?
It was a gun that ate the dog fruit. It had like the Dachshund. New model Dachshund, yeah. So it's like, why does Oda keep sprinkling that in? Why does Oda keep telling us Vegapunk is able to use that? You also have Vegapunk, or you have Zoro saying, "Oh, I have a request. We need to work together. I need something done." Yep. Like, what's that about? Like, is he gonna try to put a Orochi's fruit in his sword? That'd be fucking nuts. Although, go on. No, keep cooking with. I don't know if you had more to say about that.
Because that's why I made the tweet a while back. I was like, Orochi seems to be dead, and it's like, okay, Orochi was a waste of the fruit. So what if Zoro used his fruit for a sword? And I think maybe it would kind of take away from the swordsmanship part of things. But that was just a thought I had.
For me, I get that angle, and I wouldn't call myself like a Zoro fan. Like I like Zoro. He's definitely a very cool character. Some of the dopest moments, but he's not like one of my favorites. So I'm not gonna, So I know some people have more of an attachment, so maybe they have a better feeling for like the truth behind this. But for me, I look at it like, okay, Zoro wants to be the world's strongest swordsman, and he has 3 swords. He's probably going to master all the varieties of swordsmanships. You know what I'm saying? Like if he just has 3 of the same sword that all just he covers in haki, and it's that simple, like that's cool. Like maybe that's pure swordsmanship, and that's the angle, and I can see why that could be appealing. But for me, I look at it more like, okay, Zoro has a cursed blade, a blade from, like his best friend from a long time ago, and then he's always been swapping out the last blade like over and over, right? Like it's almost like a power-up mechanism, like so he can, like he got Shusui, like this one's way harder and it doesn't even break. Like he's like learning things whenever he gets this new sword. Enma, we all know how obvious that is. So for me, I look at it like Zoro has always been having different types of swords. That's always been his thing. Cursed sword, regular sword, or haki sword, however you want to put it, just plain sword, and then like a wild card sword. Like that's always been his thing. And so for me, having a devil fruit, I get the angle where like it takes away from his pure swordsmanship. He's not a real swordsman if he uses a devil fruit, blah blah blah. But for me, it's like I don't think Mihawk would look at him and be like, "Oh, I'm not fighting you if you're using that." Like I think he would look at it like, "Oh, that's a unique sword style." You know what I'm like? Zoro uses 3 sword style that nobody else does. You know, no one thinks he's cheating for using additional swords. So for me, I think it's similar vein. He's mastering every vein of swordsmanship, right? Like Enma was a tough thing to control or whatever because it had Haki and was like taking his Haki and all that stuff. Well, maybe the dragon's going to be a similar thing where he has to like tame a literal dragon because it's not his devil fruit, right? It's in the sword. And now Funkfried listened to Spandam pretty well, so I don't know. Maybe they just listen willy-nilly. I don't really know, but there could be more to it, you know.
You know, another thing that popped in my head while you were explaining that is like a lot of fans have always felt like Shanks is going to die by the end of the story. And then, you know, people also feel like Zoro will have some of the best swords in the series. So like, what do you think about Shanks passing on Griffin to Zoro when he dies?
I don't see it because they don't have that kind of connection. You know what I mean? Like Shanks doesn't like. I would almost look at it like if that's possible, then is it possible that once he beats Mihawk, he gets Yoru because he beat Ryuma before and got Ryuma's sword, and Ryuma was like the greatest swordsman of a past era. So is that same thing going to happen? And I would say definitely not for Yoru, just because for one thing, Mihawk, he needs a sword to use against somebody. But yeah, if Shanks dies, I think it's a fair question though. What does happen with that sword? We know in Wano, you know, you put the blade with like the grave of the person who it belonged to or whatever. So my guess is that either like nothing happens to it or they just leave Griffin at Shanks's grave, kind of like, and there's like these climactic battles. Who's going to go collect Shanks's body and like make sure the sword goes to the right place? So I almost wonder maybe Blackbeard takes it. Not that he's like a swordsman, but we don't know, you know, all the, you know, extracurriculars to Blackbeard right now. So maybe, or maybe Shiryu takes it right after Shanks dies. I don't know.
Do you feel like it would be different if, you know, maybe Shanks died on the battlefield with Zoro? Like if they were all in like a battle or something together, do you think that would help, or it would just kind of be like the same outcome that you explained?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because like swords being transferred person to person is like a very like honorable situation, I guess is the right word. I don't know how to put it, but like Ryuma, whenever he gave the sword up, it was like, you're worthy of this, you know, like you defeated me, like this is your turn to take it. For Enma, like he exchanged it, like he gave up his other sword, and it was a thing where they're like, you know, he was a one-eyed swordsman. I had a thought he might be able to use this blade. Like there's like really deep reasons behind why this happens. So I would just need a little more context. Like it could happen. It's just right now they like Zoro's never even met Shanks, right? I don't think.
Yeah.
No. And so I would need to have like, for an example, maybe maybe before Shanks and Luffy meet, Shanks meets Zoro and they have like a little discussion, like, you know, hey, I don't even know what the discussion would be. Like, I know you've been following Luffy. I want to thank you for protecting him, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then maybe that builds something, and then Zoro asks him a question about swordsmanship or something. Hey, did you really beat Mihawk? Like, maybe there's like some thing there, you know, so they build a connection first, then I could see it. But I would, that's the only thing I would say is like right now it would be kind of like random, like, man, they don't even know each other, you know what I mean? So that's the only thing. That's
a fair point. Narrator with the 5 again. Thank you so much, narrator. He said Earth God Boa, power based on attraction, gravity, but only attracted to the sun god herself. That's a really creative way of putting it. I would have never thought of something like that.
That's interesting, because like you could say it's like the earth because like she's turning people to stone, like even though like stone is like loosely the earth, right? I like that. You could say power based on attraction, and I actually had a script written out for this, but I decided not to do the video on like Blackbeard getting Boa's fruit. Like the reason why he would be able to use it if he did eat it or whatever himself is because he has the darkness, which attracts everything towards it because it has gravity, right? Like even light can't escape because the quote unquote attraction is so strong. And so that was always something I was thinking, like, oh, maybe everyone's attracted to him because of the other powers he has. So he kind of cheats the system because it's physical attraction, like you're actually getting pulled towards him. But this kind of goes in the same vein, I feel like, where it's like talking about the attraction and like the Earth itself has gravity. We saw that the Earth was at the center, like the geocentric model in O'Hara. So everything is attracted to the Earth. So I like that actually.
The Earth revolves around the sun.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to, but in O'Hara they didn't show a sun. They had the Earth at the center.
Yeah. So to what's the word I'm looking for? To focus on that, do you feel like the One Piece world is in a heliocentric formation, and that it's not coming to me, that alignment that they had in the laboratory was wrong, or do you think they actually do live in a geocentric world?
I think it is. Well, I'll put it this way. I think O'Hara. How do I put it? So I think the Ancient Kingdom has it correct, and O'Hara is basing it off of the Ancient Kingdom because they've been studying them. So I would say that at least at some point in time throughout history that had to be correct, because O'Hara like picked up that info and obviously went and made the model and stuff, but they got that from the Ancient Kingdom, who was very highly advanced and maybe on the moon and all this other stuff, right? So when I look at it that way, I think that it has to be correct, but it could be a misstep where like maybe the Ancient Kingdom, maybe like the text that Clover was looking for was like before a certain point where the Ancient Kingdom discovered they were wrong, right? So it could be wrong, but that is more of a thing where like Oda's playing 5D chess and throwing us off if that's the case, because like he, like just really didn't want us thinking about anything, but because like that's the norm is the heliocentric model. So if like the fact that Oda showed us it wasn't that and it's the geocentric, that should matter, right? Because like it's a difference. Like if Oda wanted to just slyly like not have it matter and like just not make us think too much, he would show us heliocentric. So I think at some point in time it had to be a geocentric. Now maybe they fixed it and made it heliocentric, and maybe that's the whole thing. Like maybe the Ancient Kingdom wanted to put the sun in the middle of the solar system, and that's what Emu said we're not doing, or something like that. Like maybe that's like the whole thing. I don't know exactly, but yeah, I think it's accurate at least at some point.
What about Kaido and Big Mom? What are your thoughts on them? Are they alive? Are they coming back? Are they dead? Did they turn into stone? Like,
well, my answer isn't on here. Isn't on the poll.
Oh, did I forget?
They're both alive.
Oh shit! Let me remake the poll.
I was looking for the answer. I think they're both alive. I don't. Well, I'll say this: Big Mom is definitely alive for several reasons. People have brought up the one cover page with Pudding having the Beaver card. It's like you can see like little things flying in the wind, like she's tearing it up or something like that. So you could point to that as like some kind of definitive proof. But even outside of that, Big Mom has to show up in Elbaf. In my mind, there is no way we get through Elbaf without Big Mom at least mattering. Like maybe during Elbaf we hear Big Mom's back and causing a rampage somewhere. Like some way, shape, or form, Big Mom has to matter to Elbaf. So I think Big Mom's a definite. And then as for Kaido, it's like kind of a bad excuse, but we didn't see him awaken. At least I don't think so. I know some people think that like the lava thing was awakening or whatever, but I don't. With what we've seen from Awakening so far, they look so startlingly different from the original thing. I'm sure we would notice if it was actually the Awakening. So we didn't see him awaken, which, like, to me, that's we have to see it from Kaido. Like, there's no way Oda doesn't show us that. And there's just like Oda doesn't, or I guess I'd say he's never really ended a character like this. You know what I mean? Like that, it would feel weird if he did. I guess is what I'm saying, because we always get I call it in my Wano analysis, I called it the star-shaped pose of defeat. Whenever like Luffy beats somebody like Croc or Arlong, well, Arlong was like under the rubble, I think, for the most part, but maybe we got a shot of him later. But like Doflamingo, Crocodile, and some other people, like we see him like sprawled out and defeated, like all the time. And then they get collected by the Marines and locked up and all this kind of stuff. We didn't get any of that for Kaido, which like isn't definitive proof he's alive, but that is like such a far cry from the normal ending for a villain in One Piece that I think Kaido's definitely has to come back, and maybe Kaido saw Pluton when he was down there in the lava, and that's like where he's been. He's been trying to like get Pluton out of there or something. I don't know. But yeah, what do you think? You think they're both alive or what?
Yeah, I agree with that star formation thing. And then as well as like they were never picked up from the Marines, and I feel like Oda's probably doing that so that they can return. You also have like that deep connection between Big Mom and Elbaf, so you could easily connect her to that. Maybe she loses her memory, or I guess gets memory back, and she's like, oh, I need to go to Elbaf, I need to go back home, or some wacky shit. You also have Kaido. Like, do you feel like Kaido might be following Luffy or fuck with Luffy to an extent based off the Joy Boy stuff?
So that, I'm so glad you said that, because in my mind I was like, man, like Dak, you definitely have more reasons for why Kaido's alive, and what you just said is a big one. Where I know a lot of people are not super happy with the Kaido flashback that we got, and I'm also one of those people. You know, it wasn't enough for that important of a character. So that alone, because like obviously we'll get more context on Kaido when we see like the Rocks flashback and stuff like that. But I feel like we got to hear more from the man himself about himself. You know, like it's very weird. So talking about, is he gonna like, you know, follow Luffy, or is he gonna maybe still hate Luffy and want to chase him, or what's this connection gonna be? For me, you know, the last thing we saw was Joy Boy's the only one who's going to be able to beat me, and then Kaido lost. Even if Kaido is mad that, like, I didn't really lose, I'm just stuck in this lava thing, you know, whatever. Like, maybe he didn't actually get, you know, knocked out or whatever, so whatever. Point is, I'm sure it was enough for Kaido to look at the situation and be like, all right, Luffy might be that guy. You know, I think we need to get that, and that might be part of what's going on right now is Oda's creating a break in between the stuff where, like, maybe this entire time Kaido's just thinking like, damn, okay, so maybe he really is Joy Boy. So now I got to rethink all the stuff I learned from Rocks. Like Rocks told me this prophecy, this prophecy, this prophecy, and I thought it was me and it isn't, and maybe it's him. So he's probably thinking about how to interact with the world now, right? Like what's my will? Like who am I going to be messing with? So I think what's going to end up happening is maybe Kaido still wants to test Luffy, or I don't know exactly, but I think Kaido is going to be looking at it more with like a lens of respect, but like maybe still wanting some kind of proof, if that makes sense. Like he's going to be like, all right, Luffy, you might actually be this chosen one, but I need to finalize that thought somehow. So like I don't know exactly how that would come together, but Kaido thinking about that has to matter, and they need to talk about it. Kaido knows so much lore that he hasn't told us, you know.
I feel like Kaido, it might be a situation where Kaido Final War helps Luffy almost reluctantly, kind of like how Crocodile was helping Luffy, and Luffy was still trying to spit in the face of Crocodile when when Crocodile was saving him and Ace. So even if Luffy, you know, hates Kaido and he can never be buddy with Kaido, I think Oda has proven that that doesn't matter too much in terms of, you know, receiving help in the middle of a big fight or a dire situation.
That Crocodile connection's beautiful. I didn't even think about that, because like he worked with Crocodile to like get out of Impel Down, so maybe him and Kaido even work to like get out of something. I don't know, but like maybe they have to work together to some degree. But then it could be that thing where, like, if Kaido does try to do something, like maybe he tries to hit Momonosuke or something, right? He's like, no. Like, you know, even though, like, we're kind of working together, but we're still enemies. Like, I'm only going to let you do the things that help me. You know what I mean? And remember, like, Luffy did that to Crocodile kind of in a way, like, Crocodile, bro, I already beat your ass once. Like, you really want to do this again? And so that could be the thing with Kaido, right? Kaido's a monster that everyone's going to be scared of. But then imagine he does something, and Luffy's like, Kaido, bro, stop. And then everyone's like, oh my god, he listened to Luffy. Like,
Luffy.
What? Oh my god! Like, what is going on? Because even in Marineford, Luffy stands up next to Whitebeard, and he right after that Crocodile thing, he tells Whitebeard, like, hey, Ace likes you, right? Like, all right, well, in that case, we're on the same side. But just remember, I'm going to be the king of the pie. Like, he was talking smack to Whitebeard right to his face, right? And everyone's like, oh my god, he's talking this stuff. And then Whitebeard, like, spins his weapon around, like, sticks it in the ground, and he, like, yells something at Luffy. So it's like that same thing with Kaido a little bit, where Luffy's like, bro, I'm above you. Don't, like, we're not doing this again. I already showed you what happens.
You said something that I really, really, really love. You said something along the lines of Kaido helping Momo, right?
Or like, or like maybe hurting Momo and Luffy stops him, but it could be that Luffy makes him help him. Like, what if they have to work together? Like
Yeah.
two dragons?
So that had me thinking, like, Kaido's this character that was doing really cool things to the country of Wano, but how fun and exciting would it be for Kaido to step up against an enemy, like our enemy, and he's like on, you know, our alliance side. Maybe someone's about to kill Momonosuke, and Kaido comes up, and now all of a sudden us as fans were cheering and wait for Kaido to dude, like us as fans, we were supposed to hate this guy. Now all of a sudden we're cheering for him. We're hoping Kaido wins the fight.
Dude, my mind is exploding. Like well, there's also this angle, like I mentioned, like, you know, I don't think Kaido awakened, and I feel like we have to see that eventually. Like, awakened dragon fruit is gonna look crazy cool, right?
Oh my god.
And so imagine Kaido, now that he's been defeated by Luffy, maybe he was able to awaken, or he is now, because like Luffy had to die first, or I shouldn't say had to, like it's a for sure requirement, but people have theorized about that, like you have to die to awaken a zone first or something.
Yeah.
And or at least be close to death. And so what if Kaido got close enough to where Kaido can now awaken? So then he awakens and comes back, so he's even stronger than he used to be. So everyone's like, "Oh my god, like no one's ever seen this before. What is happening?" And then Kaido says something like, "Yeah, well, I'm only doing this because Luffy beat me," or like something to be like, "Yeah, Luffy gave me this power," you know. And so everyone's like, "Oh my, like, what? How is Luffy this amazing? Like Luffy beat you, and now you're stronger because of him. Like what? You know, like how do we process this? You know?" And so. And then having him save Momo also, who has the same fruit, obviously, too. Like, oh, man.
Yo, so you had me thinking, like, awakens Kaido, what would that look like? Yo, imagine Oda took the route of making him look like a red, shiny Gyarados. And then that would kind of play into the whole thing of Vegapunk saying, oh, this fruit was a failure because it's pink and not blue. Whole time the awakening isn't even blue, it's red.
Bro, or it could just be, or it could be pink even, but like
pink,
or something.
That'd be so funny.
It'd be pink, and it's like, no, you got it right the whole time, bro. That would be so funny. Oh, I love that. Also, major shout out to that One Piece talk. I saw their super chat. Appreciate you.
Go to channel right there.
Larry. Yeah, for sure. Everyone, go check out TOPT.
Thank you so much, bro, Larry. I appreciate you greatly, man. Thank you. I'm assuming it's Larry.
I'm assuming also. It's usually Larry. If not, I don't know. Probably
thank you, whoever
Whoever
it is, mystery person. Don't even reveal who it is. Just have us theorizing on that.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, but dude, I love that Kaido idea, and having it be pink, and then it would be kind of cool if. So we don't know if Vegapunk's fruits can awaken yet, but imagine if Momo also awakens and his is blue.
It's like reversed.
They reverse, bro. That would, and then Luffy gets confused on who's who. That would actually be
Kaido.
Hilarious.
It's
Bro,
like, no, on Momo. Yeah, I could definitely see something like that.
Dude, that would be so funny. That is such an Oda thing, dude. That I honestly, that's not incredibly unlikely if I had to guess.
All right. So what does the newspaper look like when the Egghead incident is complete? What do you see on that front page?
Bro, I love this question because it really depends on what happens to Morgans, because he has been talking about Egghead and he framed it as Luffy being the bad guy, but he also has Vivi with him, and Vivi probably wants to go to the Straw Hats, so that would mean that Morgans might be at Egghead when it happens, so he gets the scoop live, which we have seen him do multiple times before, right? He went to Whole Cake for the tea party and got all the stuff. He went to the Reverie and was there for all of the, all the main stuff until he left. So for me, it would honestly make a lot of sense that Morgans pulls up with Vivi there. And so then it's like, well, what does the paper look like if he's literally there? And so he sees it firsthand. So he knows like definitively what the truth is, and he can take pictures of what happens. My guess is that it's going to be a full page spread with a giant mushroom cloud because Egghead blows up.
Oh my god.
That's what I think.
Yo, you gotta dap me up, the dap up, bro. The moment we saw, bro, I'm not even lying, man. I promise you, the moment us as fans saw Egghead Island, the silhouette, the shape, whatever the fuck, I don't remember what it was. Maybe I think it was the island, and then it had the info box. The moment we saw that, I knew that this island's done. This island's done. I already saw, and I'm pretty sure you did too. I already saw the O'Hara references coming in. I knew it was going to be Vegapunk. We called the Kizaru. Oh man, I really like what you said though. Like him taking pictures and putting the truth out there, because we never see that happen.
Yep. And this ties to like so many different kind of like small theories I've had, where like Morgans is like the voice of the final saga, because he's going to be telling the world what the truth is the entire time, because you can't trust anyone else. So he's probably even going to be going around himself to get recordings and pictures of everything, because otherwise how can you know what the truth is? You know what I'm saying? So I like that angle. And then I guess I'll kind of bounce this question over to you. Do you think it's possible that the Mother Frame or Mother Flame gets used on Egghead Island?
Yes. I would say that's probably more likely than, say, a Buster Call.
Yep. That's where I'm at. I think that's actually what's going to happen. And think about it from the perspective. So I think York made the weapon. If it is the actual Vegapunk, doesn't matter. Whoever made it, imagine them like looking up and like, the weapon I made is getting used against me.
Oh my god! I never even thought of it like that. Yeah. Oh my god!
And that's what makes it so deep. If it's York who made it, because Vegapunk would be looking at it like originally. Okay, my creation made a weapon of mass destruction. That's really bad. I feel kind of guilty for this. But then think about York, who is like, wait, this weapon's gonna kill me now? It's like, yeah.
Look what you caused.
Why you don't do that. That's the whole reason. God. But Vegapunk can then have a Tom moment, because remember, Frankie, he had a similar situation where his battle Frankies were used against like himself, like his own town, and like the all that kind of stuff, and that's what made Tom get taken away and like supposedly executed. We don't actually know. So it could be a thing where like York in that moment could be like, oh, I hate this weapon, I can't believe I made this, like get rid of this, we should just destroy it. And then Vegapunk grabs her, is like, no, like you made this, you gave this weapon life, you don't treat your creations like this. Like,
oh my God.
How do you think I felt? How do you think I felt 2 minutes ago when I realized my creation made the weapon, and now you're sitting here all upset that the weapon's getting used on you? Of course, that's what happens when you make weapons. Like I learned this 50 years ago. So like the through lines there are just so deep. But my favorite part of it is, let's say the Mother Frame pulls up. And Vegapunk didn't make it, York did. Imagine Vegapunk has some way around it. He's like, York, like, okay, like I know you're going through a lot, but like watch this. And he just like flexes and like is able to get rid of it somehow, because he like knows, like my idea is that he like made the blueprints to that weapon, and York just created the weapon for the government. Like it wasn't supposed to be actually made. And so maybe Vegapunk's like, oh, did you make this? All right, I know how to destroy it. And he just like gets rid of it, and then everyone's like like blows their mind, like, oh my god, Vegapunk's just Yonko level, something like that.
I definitely agree though, like with the overall case of it being likely. I feel like they're gonna send someone out, a Marine, Cypher Pole, somebody. They're gonna check out Lelouch and be like, hey, everything's gone, like blown to smithereens. And Imu's gonna be like, perfect, Egghead next then. I could definitely see that at the very last panel of a chapter or something like that.
And I'm so glad you said that, because there's such an important bit of context that I think people miss between 1060 and 1086, and I didn't even realize it until I literally had both chapters next to each other and I was just reading them kind of simultaneously, because like the timeline, because obviously like the events in these chapters are very closely tied, right? And in 1086, remember, Imu said attack Lelouch because it's close proximity, that's the reason. Well, then remember in 1060, when we saw the attack actually happen, the Gorosei were like, Sabo's an unlucky man. No, this is just fate. Because Imu picked Lelouch days before Sabo ever made that call, right? So like Imu kind of predicted the future, basically, by knowing that Sabo was going to go to Lelouch, because that was several days beforehand. So Imu, a couple days before that attack even happens, was like, send it over to Lelouch, let's blow it up, whatever. And then I'm sure in a similar train of thought, Emu's been thinking, okay, we need to get this over to Egghead ASAP, like if this thing works, for the same reason. So like with all this forethought from Emu about Lucia, I have no doubt they've been thinking about Egghead as well. Like that's the best way to get rid of this island. You know, we need to completely vaporize it. So, and that could be why Saturn's going there, because Saturn is the head of the defense and science department, and he even said like, Emu, give me your patience in the meantime, because it took a few days for the Mother Flame to get over there. And so once it did get there, it blew it up.
I'm sorry, you're just getting me so amped, bro.
This time.
I'm sorry, I just have to jump in because you're getting me so fucking amped, my boy. Oh my god, so
hop in.
Like I absolutely love all of that. Tiante said something along the lines of, that's so poetic in my opinion, bro. Or he said two, maybe he meant so, but I was thinking the same exact thing. The way you broke down the whole you're my creation and you're making weapons and that whole thing, bro. That make a video on that topic. That was so beautiful the way you put that.
Check out the video I dropped today.
Oh, it's today's video.
That's what it is. It's that one, bro. So like, I'll tie it to something else that's really important that hopefully will get you just as excited. Think about the Pluton blueprints, right? So I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Like the blueprints were made in case the real one fell into the wrong hands, right? That's the whole logic. If the real weapon gets controlled by the government, we need a backup to counter that one. So now think about this. It's so poetic because Frankie destroyed those blueprints. He realized that having this possibility of a weapon in existence isn't good. We're going to trust the plan of the Ancient Kingdom. We're going to trust Robin. We're going to trust everything that's been set in place. We're not going to try stepping in and making a weapon to counter it. And then Vegapunk, on the other hand, may have done the opposite, where he made blueprints for a counter to the weapon, but then his understudy, his version of Frankie, being York, made that weapon, and now we're seeing what happens when you do that. So we're seeing why Frankie is the GOAT, by burning the blueprints from the Pluton blueprints, and then we see why York and Vegapunk are kind of the opposite, because they remade a counter to Uranus, but it actually is controlled by the people they didn't want to control it. Like, Spandam was getting those blueprints so the government could make the counter to Pluton. Like, we didn't know Vegapunk existed until right after that. Right after Enies Lobby, we learned Vegapunk existed. So they would have made that version of Pluton guaranteed if they had those blueprints. So instead of that, they went and made Uranus. And
dude,
it got used against them.
That's Oda's writing right there. Of course you're gonna. I love the way you put that. They literally introduced Vegapunk right after that. You think that's a coincidence, bro? Does that really seem like a coincidence? Look at who's writing this story. That ain't a coincidence.
There is no way that we learn about this crazy weapon that Frankie doesn't even know can be made. Like, is that like, this is from the future? Like, what is this thing? And then right after he burns them, Kobe's like, yeah, this Vegapunk guy can do anything. It's like, okay, he was gonna make it, you know. And then instead of him making it, maybe the government had him made the opposite one, the one for Uranus that he probably designed himself, because he's been studying Sky Island clouds, weather, eggs, dragons, all this stuff his whole life. So, yeah.
And Matt Cypher with the 5. Thank you so much, my man. Is it Matt Cypher? Is that how you said it?
You got it. You said it right, Matt Cypher. That's my guy right there. Matt, he's been mentioned in many videos.
What if Kuma is rhyming the Iron Giant climbing Marijois? Both moving to stop a dangerous event. Garcia moving to Egghead for Kuma to protect Bonnie.
I like that. I've heard this before, where like Kuma's going to cause like enough of a ruckus in Marijois where like all the forces have to turn back. Like because like they have an Admiral and a Gorosei leaving. So I like that. But what I have kind of come to reason with myself is that Kuma is there to do something with Mjosgard.
Mjosgard. I like that, because I've been wondering. I'm glad you said that. I've been wondering, like, what is Kuma going to do? Because I haven't fully decided yet. But continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for me, like 200 years ago, the Iron Giant climbed the Red Line and basically interrupted the reverie and made the Fishmen not join the reverie. Like we don't have all these explicit details other than the timing, but I think the reasoning is the Fishmen joined. Right when they joined, a robot attacked, and everyone's like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have the Fishmen here. This is kind of sketch. You know what I'm saying? So I think in a similar vein, we have Kuma going up there right now, and we just saw in the last reverie, Poseidon almost got captured twice. So it's kind of like the Fishmen and staying away from the Red Line is a theme. I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Like, they shouldn't go to the top of the red line. When they tried to join the Reverie, the Iron Giant kicked him back down. Like, no, don't do that. Whenever they go up there this time, Poseidon almost got captured twice. But who saved her? Mjosgard. Who does Mjosgard have connections to in the past? The Fishmen, because he went to Fishman Island. And now he is getting executed. So I think it could be just like tying it back to the Iron Giant, where the Iron Giant tried to protect the Fishmen 200 years ago by making sure they didn't join the Reverie. Maybe now it's happening again, where Kuma is taking the place of the Iron Giant and helping save Mjosgard, and thus helping save the Fishmen even more, because he is like a diplomat for them at this point, right? He stands up for them. So he's like, so if I want to help the Fishmen now, I got to save Mjosgard because he's a celestial dragon who can help them. So yeah.
Damn, that's fire, man. All right, I know we planned for 2 hours, but if you want to keep going, the ball's in your court. I don't want to hog too much of your time today.
No, I do have a hard stop at 3, so we can keep cooking for now, though, for sure.
Let's go for it. Cooking. I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick. If you don't mind, just like pick us something out in chat.
Oh, absolutely. I'll definitely interact with the chat, for sure.
All right, awesome. I'll be quick. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yeah, no problem. What's up, chat? Let's see. I'm going to go, let's see, right under Matt Cypher's thing, see what you guys have been talking about. Matt Cypher forgot to put it on Discord. Oh yeah, I had it on a scheduled thing, and I had it on a scheduled thing. I woke up, and then we're here pretty much. I went and let my dogs out, and yeah, so I do need to post that in the Discord. I will definitely get to that, or unless somebody else did already. Okay, yeah. Oh, thank you, Matt. Okay, I'll do an ad to everyone in a second. Thank you, I appreciate it. Hey, you know what? We can just do that right now. I appreciate you. Yeah, and if I will say this, if any of my Vegapunk stuff about Uranus didn't make a lot of sense, or it felt like I just talked too fast, definitely check the video out. I feel like it's at least going to be worth your time, even if the theory's not right. Ending point is, I think the Mother Flame or Mother Frame is a giant weather egg, basically, but that also ties to Uranus, who might be a giant weather egg, being Roger's egg on his ship, right? And then think about Nami. Nami had weather eggs that released tons of clouds and thunder strikes. And whenever it was imbued with a soul, like whenever Zeus, who's run by Soul, ate a weather egg, he turned massive and created like a mini Lelousti attack at Whole Cake. So souls and this power source are like really deeply tied, and Vegapunk studied the 21 grams of the soul. So there is definitely some important stuff going on for sure. Posting this on the Discord. Oh, thank you, Matt Cypher. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I love seeing all the familiar faces in here. Narrator, Sway Shocks, Tiante. I mean, I know I just said Matt Cypher, Greg. All goats. Chaozu, Ronnie, Hassan, Branks. Those are some names I recommend for my own streams. I mean, you're all goats. We all know that, but
goats everywhere.
For sure. Oh, and Parth, I just saw you said if ancient weapons are living things, then their counter can be cyborg. That, yeah, okay. So I love you said that. That is the thematic between all the blueprint stuff, is that the ancient weapons are actual living things, and I think the ancient kingdom did it right by having it tied to living things, so that only one person can control it and use the weapon, which is the whole point. Like if you let the big thing with weapons in real life is, like, if you make weapons of mass destruction, it's totally cool if the only people who would be capable of using it were going to do the right thing, right? That if that could be built into it, if that could be caked into the weapon itself, it'd be great. And that is what they did in the ancient kingdom, in my opinion. Is that's why they're living things. And the blueprints, the new versions, are cyborg versions. You look at Egghead, they had the Sea Beast with like the helmet, so they could control the Sea Beast. And then you look at the Pluton blueprints, that was something you could build. And now this new Uranus thing, that the Mother Flame, something you could build.
You know, how funny and thematic would it be for the one Straw Hat that's a cyborg to have the closest relationship to an ancient weapon?
You're cooking. That's Oda. That is Oda's, 5-star Michelin restaurant cookery right there. That, like, having the cyborg guy. And also another thing is, like, Frankie was abandoned at Water 7 by his parents, who we don't know much about. And
What's a
Water
good
7
to
just
die?
happens to be the
A
home
sacrifice.
of the guy who built the Oro Jackson, and that's who he met. Oh, and that's also the place where Pluton was built, the original one. The actual Pluton was built at Water 7 a long time ago. Huh, like, dang, Oda's cooking.
Man, I always felt like the idea of building Pluton, like Oda could spin that into like birthing Pluton.
Yes.
The blueprints is like a prophecy of they're going to be born here at this time. Like, remember, we had prophecies about Poseidon.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Like, this shit goes so deep, man. Like, no matter which angle you look at it from.
Exactly. It, like, and honestly, so like Frankie is kind of one of my least favorite Straw Hats, but that's not because he's not cool. It's just because he talked some smack about Brook, and it was anime only. But Brook's my favorite, so that was the issue. But you know, but Frankie to me may have like, other than, you know, maybe Brook and maybe Luffy. I don't know. There's probably arguments for all of them, but for me, Frankie has like the most potential for an incredibly deep and touching backstory. Like, because we already know a lot of his backstory, so what I'm really getting at is like there's stuff we don't know that's gonna still hit us about this character, right? Because we know a lot about the other characters' past for the most part, and like Zoro, like we got that like in an SBS, which is like kind of weird. But like Frankie, for me, the stuff behind him, like who his parents really are, what his ties to Vegapunk are, how he upgrades, all this kind of stuff. To me, that's like so like the ship that he got repaired on and became a cyborg, is that the Mads ship? Right, we still haven't had that confirmed, but a lot of people have theorized about that. So for me, it's like Frankie is one of the Straw Hats where the stuff we don't know about him could hit us so hard. Even like we know it's there and we're waiting for it, but when it does hit us, it's going to be crazy. Also, just real quick tie-in, Frankie's also a cyborg, Kuma is also a cyborg in a similar vein to Frankie. And he has a lot of stuff we got to learn about him and like what it means to be a robot or a human or a cyborg, because like he lost his personality. So like there is so much still coming for Frankie that I can't wait, dude. It's gonna hit like crazy.
I'm glad you mentioned the Mads thing, because I was literally about to ask that.
I think it's the Mad ship. It just makes too much sense.
So how far does Oda go with that?
He's gonna go deep, bro. I've reasoned with myself at this point. You know, we're in the final saga. Oda, I wouldn't even say Oda's taking the gloves off. Oda threw the gloves in the trash can. You know, he threw the mask and the gloves and everything. It's completely gone. Like Oda's just cooking constantly, 24/7. So for me, I think like, our wildest dreams, we should just go for it. So like with this stuff with the Mad ship, my goal is that, you know, yes, it's the Mad ship. It was abandoned at some point in time. It's probably so high tech that like, because Frankie was almost dead at that point, and so I'm assuming that the ship, I wouldn't say it's fully automated, but the ship was probably automated enough still, even after all this time, because it was so high tech, that it probably helped fix him. You know, because like that ship probably built like the first couple pacifistas, or like, you know, it helped clone people. It probably, you know, all that, like they probably did a lot of work on like bioengineering. So, you know, I hope that ship, you know, it's maybe the ship was still even partially used sometimes. Like maybe Dufeld was still using it and like it was just empty for a day or two, and there was just like perfect timing. I don't know. I think Oda's going to go deep with that though. I have no doubt at least for me, that's going to be the Mad ship, and it's going to hit really hard. Like Vegapunk's probably going to learn that. Like, wait, what ship did you get picked up on? Like, that's my ship. Like it's going to, I mean, Oda's, I don't know what's going to happen, but like that discussion, when Vegapunk realizes how important Frankie is, which might be one of the things I'm waiting for the most in Egghead, for for Vegapunk to realize like, oh, this is the second coming of me. You know, that's what I want. And it might happen because of the Mad ship. I don't know.
Narrator with the 2, thank you, narrator, said, what's a goat to a god? A sacrifice.
Hey, that's actually kind of fire though.
That is fire.
Especially if you think about like the Mary burning, you know, like
a sacrifice.
Yeah, and also,
oh damn!
Oh no, wait, we're gonna go real deep. Hold on, we're gonna go Pluton deep real quick. Okay, think you know the first place we saw do you know the first place we saw the Mary's Klabautermann at?
Skypiea, right?
On the sacrificial altar.
What? Oh my god!
on the same altar that they were going to offer moose to the sun god. The same exact one.
That's calculated, bro.
That's
calculated.
Bro, I have been trying to tell people that means something. I don't know what it means.
It means something.
I don't know what it means.
The numbers, Mason, what do they mean?
There is no way having the Mary sitting on the sacrificial altar where the first time we see the Klabautermann is like there's no. Also, Gonfall came down from the sky and saved Chopper in the middle of that too. So maybe there's something you could read there, like the god came down and saved him. I don't know. 'Cause also, Klabautermanns are like souls of like inanimate objects that are kind of like from love almost. I don't know how to really put that, but you know. And so there's like so much you could read into it. Like I don't know. Was there an actual sacrifice in the past where like is the reason the Shandians, like the reason they believe that those sacrifices matter on that altar, was there one that actually mattered in the past where there was actually a soul, you know, involved or something?
Hey, shout out to King J. Maybe in a way Joy Boy is like this sheep, goat, lamb kind of thing, you know. It could play into the Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. And, you know, all the million, you already know, connections to Christianity and Catholicism, all that good stuff. That's a route Oda could go. And then Sengoku's goat.
Yeah. Oh, dude. For one thing, I just got to say, major shout out to Elids on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
One of my guys right there. He's talked about like Joy Boy being a sheep mink, potentially. And it sounds kind of crazy at first, but trust me, it's also, you know, I have a lot of Afro theories, and you could say sheep have like afros all over their bodies, kind of.
They're known for wool.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of ties there. I definitely recommend it. But I think the biggest thing is like, think about Marie Joie. It's literally Mary Joie, like Mary, like the Mother Mary. So like in Emu, and we now know Emu's using a mother flame, and we know there's a sunlight tree Eve. So you mentioned like the Christianity ties, like there is something there, like Eve, Mary, like these important, you know, women in Christianity or whatever are gonna matter. And then we also have Nerona, which is, you know, like Emu's name is Nerona Emu, which ties to Rome and everything. So I don't know, man. Oda's cooking. That's all I gotta say. Oda has seriously, I'm not kidding, like 5-star Michelin star restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Like it's industrial kitchen on 24/7. Oda doesn't turn the kitchen off at all. You know what I'm saying? So
like this is somewhat in the same ballpark, same realm. You could find like a lot of connections between Emu and the devil, and like Emu and Satan. How do you envision Emu's base form? Do they look like a goat? Do they look like the devil? Is it like a beautiful man? Like what does Emu look like in base form?
So I mentioned earlier that I think Emu is kind of two different people kind of inhabiting the same body at this point. Like the Nerona Emu was just one of the 20 kings, and then Mu, or whatever you want to call this, the shadow stuff, or like some other force took over Emu. That's like how I'm seeing it right now. It's like there's multiple people involved, because that also ties to Blackbeard pretty well, right? Like we've all talked about him having multiple personalities or people, or whatever way you want to stretch that, multiple souls, whatever, right? And so the way I see it is that Nerona Emu, the one who was one of the 20 kings that everyone else knew and is like in the recorded history and all that, they probably look like Stelly. They probably look like a dweeb. That's what I'm imagining. Probably like a young kid who was just power hungry and is just, you know, whatever. But then Mu, or whatever this extra layer is that is taking over Emu or worked with Emu and whatever is going on, right? This other being, I have no idea. I think I could see anything like a brand new creature from like a different planet. I could see maybe it is like a sheep mink, or you know, some kind of mink of some kind. Like I genuinely have no idea for what this Mu person's gonna be like. Because I kind of envision it like you know, at the end of Marineford, Whitebeard died, Blackbeard swooped in at the last second, took the devil fruit, and now he has 2 fruits in the one body. I see it as a similar thing where like the Ancient Kingdom won and Emu was celebrating, and then a version of Blackbeard from the past or someone came in last second like, oh, I'm going to take over this one. Yeah, now I'm the leader. You know, so it's like someone just swooped in at the end. So who that being is who took over Emu and who the true Mu or Emu, if that is the case, I don't know, man. Like I could see a 3-eyed tribe member. I could see an Oni. I could see a sheep mink. I could see a regular human. I could see some kind of new alien we haven't seen. And
yeah, the 3-eyed is fun.
Yeah, 3-eyed I think is really fun, because that's a race that is like they can read the text without knowing the text. Like that's crazy, you know, without the voice of all things also, I guess. But yeah. So yeah.
So
what do you think? I'm curious what you think on this though.
Man, I definitely resonate with like the idea that Emu could go so many ways, man. The Umibozu connections, Sea Devil connections, Nero, maybe even stuff from Hinduism like what's the name? It's not coming to me. It'll come to me eventually. Maybe connections to sheep, so go, Satan. Like there's so many different directions. And I also like that Stelly thing. Stelly to me is like, I feel like Stelly is a character or a plot device that's meant to show us Emu and give us these little signs of Emu, these little nuggets about Emu and maybe how they even came to power. And fans haven't noticed it because no one really likes Stelly. He seems like a douchebag. He doesn't look that cool. Like the average fan just marks him off. You'll never see people talk about Stelly. But Stelly's a really interesting case because how did that happen? He was adopted into a family. His brother Sabo hated the whole aristocrat stuff, hated classism, but yet he was already power hungry even as a child. So boom, he's adopted by Outlook and a woman named Didit. You probably know where I'm going with this. And all of a sudden, the king of Goa mysteriously died under mysterious circumstances. And now all of a sudden, this power hungry kid that was the son of like this power hungry aristocrat is now the king of Goa. And when you look at the pair's names, it's Outlook Didit. Like, I remember when I first heard that, bro, that like blew my mind. Like, but anyways,
I love that.
I say all that to say that I would not be surprised if Emu was like of similar vein. Maybe Emu and Emu's parents or family had to do some conniving, schemy, slimy little thing to rise to power, just like Stelly.
Yep. Yeah, because like Stelly, literally the context of Stelly's time at the Reverie was like, hey, I want to go sit on the empty throne, and the guy's like, oh no, that's a symbol of, you know, all of us kings like agreeing that there isn't one king above us or whatever. All right, are you ready to take your oath? And then he's like, I need to sit on the throne. Like he doesn't care about the oath, he doesn't care about the honor, he doesn't care at all. That was like his whole shtick. And then in 1086, we see I think it's the Cypherpole members are showing Vivi's picture to people. And Stelly has heart eyes like sticking out of his head, and his wife is back there like upset at him because he's like so googly-eyed over another girl, and it's Vivi who Emu said, I desire Vivi. So it's like, okay,
I think Emu
both
is
these
a
guys
better
like
fruit with a
Vivi.
will that can
Like, even if we don't know if
overpower
Emu is necessarily
After an emu
romantic
dies,
interest in Vivi,
its fruit
it's
is
still
given
like
to
they
the
want to get
next
Vivi,
inheritor.
you know, held hostage or whatever. So it's like they both want Vivi for some reason. They both want to sit on the empty throne. And like I mentioned this at the beginning, you know, Sabo saw Emu on the empty throne, while Stelly, who is Sabo's brother, kind of, you know, wants to sit on the throne. So there's like a mix there. Like the one who left the family actually saw who sits on the throne. So it's like, I have no doubt that matters. And it's also, he's the king of Goa Kingdom where Luffy's from. Like, that's incredibly important, you know?
We got narrator with the 5. Thank you again, my man. He said, I think Emu is a devil fruit with a will that can overpower its user. After an Emu dies, its fruit is given to the next inheritor.
I kind of like that because that could kind of make it would make Emu like an actual devil in that sense, where like the will of the fruit. And I'll say this real quick. That's actually why I like the Stelly connections too, is because Stelly's like a weak-willed person, so controlling that kind of person would not be that hard. Like, even if they want to be king of the world, they can't fight. They don't have hockey. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can't fight back against actual power. So I like that it's generally someone who gets controlled. Now, I would say, like you said, after an Emu dies, its fruit is given to the next inheritor. I definitely think it's the same Emu. I mean, obviously I could be wrong, but I'm just imagining the process of like that body getting near death, and then Emu saying, I need a new body, bring someone here, and like it just switches over. Like, not that it's impossible, but that, like, just visually, I just feel like there's a lot of like I feel like Emu's just been Emu. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Yeah. Maybe that's how I want it. Maybe it's just headcanon, but I like it that Emu's just been Emu. But the idea that it's still a devil fruit who took over the body, I like that, because like it's this the devil part of it. Like imagine a Blackbeard, like the will of his fruit, which like he doesn't have a zone, but I would argue every fruit has a will of some kind. But it's like, what if the darkness fruit took over somebody? Like you would probably be like Emu a little bit, you know? So I like it actually.
It might have been narrator. I apologize for forgetting who it was. For forgetting who it was. But on my last stream, somebody was saying, like, isn't it funny how Calgara had this whole thing about souls being inside of trees? Maybe that plays into devil fruits, how they have some kind of spirit or will of their own. So what do you think about that? How do you see those two things working together?
Yeah, so no, I love talking about these trees, man. Like the Nolan flashback is my favorite flashback in One Piece. So like I love anytime this is brought up.
Good taste.
Yeah. Oh man, I just did a long Nolan video. I've been waiting to upload for a minute, man. That's my guy. But as for those things, you know, I think it's interesting because in the first part of that flashback, we learned what we were supposed to learn, or what we were supposed to take away, was that gods aren't real. These rituals are bad. Stop believing in these things that lead to people dying. Like that was generally the idea, right? Like believing in this crazy stuff is not cool. Please stop. That was the lesson. But then we get to the trees, and it's funny because like on one hand you would think that the Shandians would give him a longer leash or give Nolan a longer leash because like we trust you at this point, like you saved us. But even Nolan recognized, okay, no, you don't mess with ancestors. I messed up. I shouldn't have done this. Like, yes, the trees needed to be cut down no matter what, but I should have talked to them. Like this, I don't know what I was doing. I understand why they're upset. Let's just leave. So like, there was even from Nolan's perspective, even when he didn't respect the gods and the rituals and all that, he respected the ancestors part. And the reason why I think that's really telling is it's just kind of like it shows how important the afterlife really is and all this kind of stuff. And what I think is so important is despite all the stuff being gods aren't real, stop the rituals, this is all nonsense, you're wrong, basically. Everything you believe is wrong. That's basically it. We know that souls can come back from the dead because of Brook. Okay, so this tree stuff, it might seem far-fetched that souls would ever actually be in those trees, but we know it's kind of possible because of Brook. We know that at least with one specific devil fruit, it's physically possible to bring the soul back. So in my mind, I've been thinking, well, the ancient kingdom was connected to the Shandians, right? They were protecting the city of gold because it belonged to the ancient kingdom, and that was their whole goal, was protecting it. As a matter of fact, the Shandians are from the moon originally, which is high tech, like really high tech. So I'm like, okay, so these let's just assume these trees are legit for a minute. Like they actually had souls of people in the past in them. And so like what would that matter? How, like, why, like what's the importance behind that and everything? Well, I guess I should say I'm not 100% sure, but what I take from it is that the ancient kingdom may have literally been putting those souls into those trees. We know that will kind of drives the world, and it's like Nolan cut those trees down. And soon afterward, the knockup stream happened. And so and also the trees died, like, I think they said like a month or so before Nolan arrived. But also a month before Nolan arrived, the earthquake started around the island. So the island getting sent to the sky, the timeline of it almost ties exactly with the island, or with the trees dying. Whether they were cut out, whether they were just died from being sick or whatever. So I'm thinking that what if like the trees were holding the island there indirectly, like I mean it could be the roots literally like physically holding it down, you know what I mean, like the knockup stream couldn't budge it out until the trees died maybe, or it could just be like the will, just, you know, how things work, like the Iron Giant robot didn't start till after 200 years of time. Maybe the reason why it was exactly 400 years ago that the knockup stream happened is because that's another ancient kingdom timeline thing. Like they set that up ahead of time, so like the trees would die at a certain time, or, you know, I don't know exactly, but I guess that's all just to say I do think the souls were in those trees, and I think we're going to learn more about it with Vegapunk and the 21 grams of soul that he's been studying.
I hope so, man, because when we first got that chapter, I thought that was so intriguing. He hasn't really played around with it yet, but, you know, I'm almost worried that he won't. Should I be worried?
I would say definitely not. So I mentioned this a little bit while you were gone in the bathroom, I think, which is so funny. You know, during Whole Cake, Zeus, who runs on soul power and is a cloud, ate a weather egg and churned into a absolutely massive cloud that did like a mini Lelouch attack on Big Mom. And so that's soul power powering up an egg. And we know that Vegapunk's looking for new energy sources and studying the soul, and he wants it to power his egg. And so my overall guess, and I mentioned this in the video, I think the 21 grams of soul is the power source for the weapon, the Mother Flame. Like,
just
you need an
one
actual
soul?
Yeah, because
human sacrifice.
Yes, exactly.
I could see that. I can 100% see that.
Like, atomic bombs, they use like trillions of atoms, but it's not that much like physical material most of the time, because you're just splitting the atoms, and like that amount of energy is insane. And that's why it's an atomic bomb, right? Like, you're splitting the atom. Generally speaking, there's probably some like really high tech, you're like some really knowledgeable, I should say, science people that are cringing a little bit, but you generally get what I'm saying. And so it's like a little bit of material can create tons of energy. That's the idea. All you need is a little bit. Like, there's energy all around us. There's somebody during the Manhattan Project said that, because it's like all the atoms around us can be split and release immense amounts of power. We just got to figure out how to do it. And so Vegapunk talked about the same thing. I want to give power to the world. There's power all around us. Let's, we can harness this. And so we talk about the 21 grams of soul. 21 grams is not a lot. It is not very much at all.
Very light.
So yeah, so you tie that to the atomic weapon, atomic weapons we actually use. All you need is a little bit of material if you can use it appropriately. And that's why York has been keeping hostages. She's taking the souls from those cipher pulleys.
Oh, shit. Nah, yep.
Yep.
Nah, that's insane. I wouldn't have even thought of that.
So yeah, so that's why York has them all captured. And I mentioned this at the beginning too. The very first group to go investigate was CP5. That is who checked on Frankie and Tom for the Pluton blueprints.
I'm done, bro. I'm so done. What? Nah, bro. You are this month's MVP. What the fuck?
And remember, Einstein discovered E equals mc squared. Right, energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Well, what has Vegapunk studied? Energy, mass, and light.
That's insane, dude. What? You fucking cooked, my boy.
Dude,
5-star.
That Vegapunk video, man. Once I connected a few dots, man, I was like, plutonium, uranium, the energy, the soul grams. Gotta matter.
Look what you do, bro. You and your fire ass theories, you're the reason that all of us fans have these headcanons, bro. It's all your fault.
I love this is literally, I don't even know, I'm like so happy. I'm grinning ear to ear. This is what I live for, man. I appreciate it. This is, if you would have told Dak from a year ago that anyone would be talking about my theories, I would have, I wouldn't have believed you. So literally that means a lot to hear, bro.
Very much deserved, man. And you're gonna keep going.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I got plenty more theories to come. I actually want to talk about we don't, not this stream, but I guess for everyone else, I want to do a video on Loki and Kid and Elbaf.
I want some Loki info. I want to see a Loki theory, because usually when people play around with the Elbaf stuff and the Loki stuff, they're kind of surface level with it, because we haven't jumped into the island, and we could talk about Norse stuff, but I've been really wanting to see like a deep video about Loki.
Yeah, bro. I've been studying my Norse mythology because I'm not super into it, and I've learned a lot of crazy stuff. Like one thing I'll say now that's just I don't have the full theory completely done, but one thing that to me was absolutely insane was when we know Kid is in the water right now. And Loki, basically before Loki, I don't even know how to really put it because I'm not super familiar. Before Loki got locked away for a long time and punished, basically, he went out and started fishing and figured out how to make a fishing net and started catching fish with his fishing net in the water before he got captured. And he learned how to break through net. There's a whole storyline with it. But main thing is, I could see Loki tying it together to the Loki from Norse mythology. Maybe he's casting out a net whenever we meet him, and he catches Kid in the net, and that's how Kid gets saved. That's all I'm saying.
That is the goofiest yet greatest thing I've ever heard, yo.
It's just so like, oh, what are all these pirates in this net? Like, you know, like I can just, I don't know. That to me, that's like such an Oda thing.
It is. Man, you're really good at like spotting these silly things that just scream Oda. Like kids, he's supposed to be a laughing stock. I'm done defending him. So I would love to see a page or a panel where he's in a fucking fishing net, like spitting out water, all goofy and shit.
Bro, and I'll say this: I'm not like, the way I want to start the video is like, all right, guys, I'm not here to defend Kid. If anything, he's a scrub. But I'm just gonna but he's not dead yet, so I'm just gonna, you know, like, this isn't here to talk about how he gets relevant. This is just here to
before you think I'm a Kid defender.
Exactly, Kid. Yeah, Kid. You know, he's not. Like I said before, Kid thinks when people talk about hockey, Kid thinks they're talking about the sport played on ice. You know, not the.
God,
like,
he doesn't even
he's like,
realize.
bro, why does everyone talk about the NHL? Like that. That's Kid, bro. Like, he doesn't know anything. So, like, literally, I was thinking making the thumbnail like Loki holding a fishing net with all the Kid pirates, and I just have at the bottom like a quote that says "No hockey," or you're a scrub, or just, you know, something like
you're a scrub.
Loki's like, damn, Kid, you suck. Like I don't know, because the Giants are like masters of hockey. You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't say masters, but like Dorian Broggy used, you know, was Ikoku sovereignty or whatever they call it, you know, way back when. So obviously the Giants know what they're doing with hockey. So I could see them laughing at Kid for sure. Like, bro, you suck.
Now, this is somewhat related. I feel like the man with the burn scar might be Loki. I've played around with like a few different options. I even have a video about the Revs being the man with the burn scar men. But I totally overlooked this. Like, there's a possibility that big fire Big Mom caused actually burnt Loki. And I think it plays into the whole winter solstice thing. Shout out to Dawn and Dusk. That's where I watched the video from. What are your thoughts on the man with the burn scar and all that? Or if you want to pinpoint that real quick, because you seem mind blown.
Yeah, well, no, I'll definitely go into my theory on it in a minute. But that does, because, wow, okay, so I'll say this. One thing that is really worth mentioning, just, it kind of goes back to Vegapunk a little bit, but with the flame that Mother Carmel saved, well, remember, okay, we got Mother Carmel creating, I guess, a giant flame, Mother Flame. So I don't know if that matters, but remember, that runs on soul power yet again. So I just wanted to mention that. And also, this is kind of a joke. I didn't put this on Twitter, like right after the thing happened in the official. But also, like, Mother Carmel, the whole thing was breaking her photo, like breaking the mother's frame during Big Mom's arc. So I don't know if that actually matters or not, but I just thought that was really interesting. But I like that idea that like Loki got burnt back then, and that was 61 years ago, I believe, or 60 years ago, about that happened, that whole thing at Elbaf. So that would mean Loki would have to be that old, but that does kind of make sense because the Giants live to be really old, right? Now, I would maybe call into question a little bit like the Lola marriage thing, because then he would have been like 50-something, you know what I mean? Marrying like a 18-year-old or however old Lola was at the time. So I don't know if I don't know how that really works. You know what I mean? Like giant relationships. Like, so I have no idea what to think about that side of things, but I just want to mention that. But all that aside, I love that idea that he got burnt back then. He's the one with the scar. And then maybe since that Big Mom situation, he has been sailing around, basically, right? Mm-hmm. I like that. Like, he's been an outcast, because that is, I will say, for like, I don't have the full script or even like the full theory kind of rounded out in my head yet, but a key part is definitely that Loki is going to be an outcast for sure of Elbaf. Like, whether that's they just hate him because he's evil, or maybe Loki's like weird, or he just kind of like how Odin wanted to leave Wano and no one was supposed to, so he was an outcast in that way. I think Loki is definitely going to be an outcast, so I could see that. Like, maybe he got kicked out, and so he's been sailing around. I actually like that a lot. Well, like, there's not enough to build. We don't know a lot about him, but thematically.
I mean,
like
hey, he wears a crown. He's a prince of Elbaf, so that kind of sets him apart in that regard.
Yeah, and that's actually why I think he's going to be a lot like Odin or Odin. I should be more careful because there's obviously Odin, like Odin, also that's going to be important.
Do you think Oda's going to use that exact name, or do you think he's going to be like, F it, let's base this character off Odin, but call him something else?
So it's funny. I mentioned this before, where I think Loki is going to be a parallel of Odin and Odin, but not have the name of either, because like they're so close. Where he's gonna have the name Loki but have a little bit of both, where Loki and Odin in Norse mythology were very different people. So I would be curious on how he would marry all that, because you could just have, there might even, what were the old names for the other giants? Wasn't like Jarls something? I can't remember, but like those might be important too, to maybe like maybe Odin was Loki's dad, you know what I'm saying, and he was like the old king. I don't know exactly. But yeah, I think no matter what though, Oda's tapping into all that like all that Norse mythology stuff. And I'll say this just for the chat, just so everyone, I don't know if anyone is doubting this, but a lot of people wonder if we're even going to get an Elbaf arc, and I am fully on the opposite side of anyone who doubts it. Like, I am fully 100% on board. We're getting a nice, pretty hefty Elbaf arc. Maybe not Wano hefty, like no arc will probably be that hefty, but I think we're getting a full-blown one, and it's going to be a lot of Norse mythology. It's going to be a big deal. And yeah, I'm sure we're going to get, you know, an Odin, a Loki. I mean, obviously Loki, but we'll see him there. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the expectation, there's no going back. Like, you know, all One Piece fans, when we talk about Usopp, what do we say? Wait for Elbaf. And we just talk about Elbaf in general, especially when we look at places like Little Garden, the Giants on Enies Lobby. Like, the expectation is so there, and I feel like fans would actually be like pretty upset if we never got an Elbaf arc. It's not even like something like Zoro and his mom and dad in Wano. Like, no, Elbaf has... Like, that's something very, very established.
Yeah, for me, and I'm this is probably going to go somewhere in the video I'm doing. You know, for me, Oda has had 3 arcs set up from the very beginning of the story that he could not possibly ignore, even if he wanted to. The first one was Fishman Island. We talked about going to Fishman Island for like 4 separate arcs. Like, all right, we're going to Fishman Island next. Oh, no, we're going to Sabaody. All right, next we're going to Fishman Island. No, we all got separated. And then we're going to Marine. Like, we were going to go to Fishman Island for so long, and it just took forever. And then Wano, which we finally got to and was a super hefty arc. And these and guess what? These both have had ties to ancient weapons, right? We got obviously Fishman Island had Poseidon, and then Wano had Pluton. And then we got to go to Elbaf. And it would just make sense that that's also going to be a hefty arc, lore heavy arc, and probably Uranus related arc. It just, to me, those are the 3 arcs Oda set up a long time ago, made very clear they're going to be super important. And yeah, no way it doesn't get a hefty amount of time from Oda.
When you envision Straw Hat Pirates versus Blackbeard Pirates, what island is that taking place on?
Bro, if I could have my dream fulfilled, it would be at Laugh Tale.
Laugh Tale, oh my god, that'd be fucking nuts, dude.
The most ideal scenario for me, if I could literally tell Oda what to do, would be right outside of Laugh Tale, like maybe, so I think it's at below Long Ring Longland, or Long Ring Longland's the entrance, wherever it is. Let's just say it's there just for the sake of discussion. I would like to see them all at Long Ring Longland, like, all right, whoever wins this gets to go to Laugh Tale and become Pirate King, and maybe all the Yonko are there. And Morgan shows up and shows it on TV. So we have Morgan's announcing it like a sports broadcaster while the Yonko are all duking it out. Remember, Oda said it's going to be a free-for-all battle royale. You know, maybe that's actually what happens, and they all just show up at Laugh Tale and we have a massive Emperor War. And, you know, but at the same time, I don't know if Blackbeard would lose there. I feel like Blackbeard's like kind of like an endgame guy, and him losing there and then fighting Emu without Blackbeard being relevant would seem a little weird. So I'm not exactly sure how it would go down, but just the sheer hype of having it like a sporting event, like the Coliseum battle. The Coliseum battle in Dressrosa, the big prize was a fire fruit, which, like, you know, you could loosely take as like, not like the sun god fruit, but like a sun god fruit, because like you can make a sun, like literally one of Ace's attacks, Flame Emperor, looked like a sun. The Colosseum had 4 blocks, like 4 emperors, 4 blocks, and it was at Dressrosa, which has all these ties to the end of the story. Being
Luffy's from the D block.
There. Oh,
right?
Wait, he was C block, I thought.
Oh, was
right?
he C?
I think he was.
Oh, I thought he was D block for a second.
Wait, I can't remember.
I might be misremembering that.
I can't remember either, actually. Well, because I know it wasn't A or B. It was C or D, guaranteed. Because A was Burgess, B was Bartolomeo.
Oh, it was C.
Yeah. It was
C.
C.
Damn! I thought it was D. My whole life's a lie.
Yeah, but I like that connection nonetheless, though. Like, Oda should have done that. That's kind of weird he didn't.
Yeah. Huh. Strange. I was gonna ask something. So
go ahead.
How do you feel about like final villain? Is that Blackbeard or Emu?
I think at this point we're approaching like a 3-way battle where I almost imagine it where it's not like actually a 3-way battle like where they're all 3 going to be in a room fighting, but I almost see it more of like maybe Blackbeard and Luffy fight at Laugh Tale and Luffy wins, or like wins quote unquote, like, you know, Blackbeard has to leave, or like he punches Blackbeard far away but Blackbeard's not actually defeated. I don't know exactly what it is, but like Luffy wins but Blackbeard's not defeated, so Luffy then becomes Pirate King, learns all the history and stuff. Well, Blackbeard's like, all right, well, let's just do this a different way, and then I could see Blackbeard like doing stuff in the world to like gain leverage while Luffy goes and fights Emu. And then maybe during that battle, Blackbeard comes in like, all right, I'm back. I'm actually ready to win. And then because Blackbeard could be like, yeah, I didn't become Pirate King, but what do I care? I want to be king of the world. You know, like I got bigger goals than that. So like I could see that. Like they do fight, but Blackbeard comes back at the end with like a bigger, I don't know, maybe he actually went and got an ancient weapon. He got another devil fruit, something to power him up a little more. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think though? Because this is a question I could see a million different answers for.
So I definitely understand the Blackbeard point of view, and there's quite a few ways that you could spin that. And I do understand that this is a pirate story and Blackbeard's supposed to be like the ultimate pirate obstacle for Luffy. Mm-hmm. But in my heart of hearts, I've always looked at One Piece like there's this treasure on this magical island, and this treasure is only there because Joy Boy in the Ancient Kingdom fell, which I always assumed would be Emu, like the king of the world, the world government. So like in my heart of hearts, like if there was a shotgun in the back of my head, I would say Emu would be the final villain, just based off of the world government being the foundation of most of the corruption. Even when you think about Arlong and what he was doing in the East Blue, or what he wanted to do in East Blue, all the corrupt Marines we saw, even down to the stuff with Crocodile, I would just like, I'm not upset at the Blackbeard take, because especially as time goes on, I'm being way more comfortable with it. But you know, if there's a gun to my head, I would probably say Emu, just because he's that seems to be more foundational with like the mechanics of the story, like Laugh Tale, the poneglyphs, secret history, Joy Boy, Nika. Yeah.
No, I'm pretty much with you. Like, it's tough because you probably feel the same way. Like, I love Blackbeard so much that like I feel like I'm biased sometimes, like wanting him to be the actual end game guy and like be the almighty powerful person. Like, I feel like he's set up to be that, but part of it is definitely I love him. Like, he is my favorite non-Straw Hat character, Blackbeard, for sure.
So, who's your top 5?
So probably in no order, but Blackbeard's definitely number 1. So then other than that, Laboon is number 2, but he might count as a Straw Hat. I don't know if that's really fair or not, but and then Noland, and the next one's gonna sound like some crazy cap, but I just trust me, Gats from Dressrosa, that's my guy, and then Law. I like Law a lot too.
Good list. You have a good mix of safeness, like Law, and then what's a good word? I don't know, for lack of a better word, creativity with the Gats.
There you go. It's funny because like I can look at it and say like obviously he doesn't have the same weight behind him as the other characters. Like Gats was in one arc and probably not going to show up again, or at least not in a big capacity. But for me, it's like what hit me and stuck with me. You know, that's what I think about. Like whenever I go back and think about moments in the story, like what people make me emotional just by hearing him talk, and that's Gats, dude. Like when Gats is like he climbs up to the top of the mountain and he's like, all right, everyone, I know we've had a pirate doing these terrible things to us all along and misleading us. I know like everything looked really bleak, blah blah blah. But do you remember that kid in the Coliseum? That kid Luffy? He's actually a pirate named Monkey D. Luffy. But trust me, he's going to save us. He actually promised a one-hit KO of Doflamingo. And the entire island of Dressrosa was behind Luffy in 2 pages. Like, they didn't even know who he was. And then because of Gats, they're all behind him. And they're all cheering for him. They're all rooting. They're all literally doing a countdown, dude. They're like 5, 4. Like, the entire island,
They were
bro.
carrying this man.
Dude, Gats had Luffy on his back. Like, the only person that Luffy told about the 10-minute time limit from Gear 4 was Gats. He didn't tell anybody else. He told Gats, and Gats like, I got you, man.
And he held it down, bro.
He held it down. Bro, he makes me so emotional because he's just a normal dude. He's the Coliseum announcer. Like, he's like, he wasn't ready. He did not know he was going to wake up today and do any of this. You know what I mean?
He was crying. Snot was coming out of his nose.
And then Luffy actually gets back up, and then it's just, and the best part too is like when Gats got up there and he started calling to everyone. They're like, "Bro, what is he doing? Get off the mic, dude! Like, we're about to die. Like this, what? Like, we're all screaming and stuff. Stop!" And he's like, "Everyone, stop! Listen!" And then, oh, dude.
You're getting so worked up.
That's my guy, man. He's just so, I don't even know. And then he also like took a liking to Luffy during the Coliseum, and I like that because it's like whenever you do broadcasting, you're supposed to be unbiased, but he liked Luffy
he
so
couldn't
much
help
he could
it.
help himself. Yep.
We got young Usopp with the 2 months. Thank you, my boy. Loki's silhouette resembles the Gorosei's shadows.
It does. I would say that Oda does his silhouettes very consistently, with like the white eyes, and like the silhouette. So for me, I kind of look at it like I don't even know if the shape of Loki is fair to assume is correct. Because he has deviated, he has had silhouettes that are almost 1-to-1, like the numbers. If you go back and look, like you can see which one's which one pretty easily. But there are also some silhouettes that are not, like, I think Kaido is like the number one silhouette that people think of. Like sometimes the silhouettes don't end up looking like the people. And so I guess all I'd say is I don't know what to take from it. I agree, it definitely does look like their shadows, but I don't know if that helps or hurts. What he's gonna look like. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Then we got Arthur with the membership. Thank you, my boy. Welcome to the 3-Eyed Tribe.
Big W, bro.
And Jabriel, thank you with the 5. Said, do y'all think with the Elbaf arc, Oda will go towards the Thor movie like in Marvel?
I never saw the Thor movie. I'm not a movie watcher, so I know that's probably blasphemous to a lot of people in the chat. But I don't know enough about the movie, but I know a lot about Thor in mythology, and I would say that's definitely going to be Usopp with the hammer. The hammer.
100%. That hammer was called Mjolnir or something like that.
Yep. And I want to say I didn't even know this about the hammer until I started researching stuff for this Loki video, but the hammer was made with an imperfection, which was that the handle was too small. That's why it's a small hammer like that. And like you want a longer handle because it gives you more like leverage, right? Like a better fulcrum or whatever to swing the hammer faster. So having a short handle sucks for a hammer. It's supposed to, but Thor loved it. He was like, "Oh, this is perfect for me. Like this, I can. It's like whatever the grip was in his hand. He's like, this is way better. I'm like super accurate and whatever." And so I think that's going to be Usopp's thing because it's like a small hammer that's incredibly powerful. And so that's going to be Usopp's thing, I think, for sure, because he already uses hammers, right?
Dude, like we can all agree. Even as of 1086, Oda's been cooking straight fire. But like if we get to Elbaf, fans are gonna lose their mind, especially if we see Usopp get a new hammer. Like the week of that chapter, every fan's just gonna be like, you know what? Oda hasn't fucking missed this final saga. Banger after banger. Like that is something that I can see all fans loving.
Dude, so you know how he made like the 5,000-ton hammer that was like 2 frying pans with like tied together or whatever, so it wasn't actually 5,000. Bro, my dream for Usopp is that this hammer he gets, and maybe the hammer, like for example, the hammer could have like the kilo fruit or something, which I think we saw in Little Garden.
Same thing right now.
You could give the hammer a fruit and accomplish it, but what I want is that it's going to be that where the hammer's really light, but whenever he hits people, it's like the reverse, where it looked like a giant hammer, but actually wasn't. This one's going to be a small hammer that looks like it won't hurt anybody, but it's going to hit like a truck. Like that, I need that for Usopp, so that way nobody believes in like, bro, what's like? You think that little mallet's going to do anything? And then they just get clocked. They're like, okay, like whoa.
Maybe even over time, Usopp adds some dials to it, make it even stronger.
Ooh. Bro,
that'd be a nasty weapon.
Back. Yeah, I'm ready for all Usopp power-ups, man. I love Usopp. That's one of my favorite characters in the whole story for sure.
Hell yeah.
Earlier though, I did want to say this. I just remembered earlier we were talking about Man Marked by Flames, and I talked a lot about the Loki idea, but I didn't get to give my idea. So I do want to share this real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I think it's Mass Deuce, Ace's right-hand man. I do have a video on it if anyone wants to check it out after this, but the biggest things for me that tie to it is that he's marked by flames a million different ways. We don't see a physical marking, which it does appear that the man marked by flames, like it is a physical marking, so there would have to be something. But the thing is that he was with Ace forever, so maybe he got burnt one time and we just haven't seen the scar. Like he wore a jacket and pants pretty much forever, so that's totally possible. He uses a flame dial now, so the dials reminded me of it. He uses a flame dial with Ace's fire in it, so he could have just burnt himself with the fire, or maybe just him having that flame with him is the mark by flames. I don't know, but the biggest things for me are that right now, he was friends with Whitebeard because he was on Whitebeard's crew, and Whitebeard to me is the key to all man marked by flames theories. If you have a theory with a serious man marked by flames theory, and you don't at least mention Whitebeard and that road poneglyph that was in Fishman Island, which was his territory for most of this time period, then that's like the connection for me that has to be made for the theory to make sense. And Deuce not only was friends with Whitebeard, he was one of Whitebeard's doctors and treated a burn scar that he got from Ace. And as a matter of fact, Whitebeard came to him without telling anybody else, because he only wanted Deuce to know about the burn scar. He did not want anyone else to see that he got hurt from Ace, because it'd be like embarrassing, or like it would look like weakness, like Whitebeard's getting old. So he only went to Deuce to get care for that burn scar. Also, the woman who chased, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but there's a woman who chased basically she was the smoker for Ace, so she was a Marine, and she chased Ace and Deuce around whenever they were on the Spade Pirates, and she had a burn scar on her hand. So we got Ace with the fire, Whitebeard with the burn scar, this girl with the burn scar. Everyone's got a burn scar around Deuce except for him, basically. But Deuce also built the Striker, the ship that Ace powers with his fire. And in the Ace novel, this blew me away. In the Ace novel, he specifically says, if you char the outside of the wood, it makes it stronger. So we spent all night burning and charring every piece of wood that we used for this ship so that it would be able to withstand the power of Ace's flames. So literally charring the outside of the wood, making the whole ship black, makes it stronger. We know that he's in a ship, the Man Marked by Flames is in an all-black ship right now. Literally, Deuce can build ships and knows that making them black first makes them stronger. So that right there to me mattered a ridiculous amount. And then as for the whirlpools, like I said, he has a flame dial with Ace's fire that just creates like limitless propulsion. It's like a limitless energy source. If he built a new ship, got the poneglyph on it, like maybe him and Whitebeard made a plan. Like once Blackbeard betrayed the crew, Whitebeard may have been like, okay, we got to move that poneglyph because he might go get it. He knows how important it is. He knows it's down there. The fishmen probably think he's still a good guy, whatever. So maybe Deuce, or maybe they put it at Sphinx Island, then Deuce packed it on his ship, uses that flame dial to like create propulsion in the water to make the whirlpools instead of like pushing backward to make the ship go forward, like we saw with Ace. Like whenever he left Yamato at Wano, he like had the like he propelled away from it like with his fire. Well, just point that downward into the water, and you're going to create a current that's probably going to be like a whirlpool. So that's it, Matt. That's it. Mass Deuce.
I mean, you gave all the details we know about the man with the burn scar, and then it fit really well with Masked Deuce and I really liked the point about Whitebeard. I totally agree, like this was his territory for the longest period of time, and I actually did watch that video, now that I think about it, on my 24-hour stream recently.
Oh, and I want to say, I remember I watched your video on the Man Marked by Flames, or Men Marked by Flames, I guess I should say. And I was like, literally, I opened it. I'm like, all right, when's he gonna mention Whitebeard? Like every single Man Marked by Flames video. No, you did right away. I was like, all right, cool. I can watch this and know he's serious. Like,
yeah.
It's not like disrespecting to other theories. It's just for me, I'm like, you can't theorize about it without talking about that poneglyph. Like that's the whole, where did it go? That's the whole mystery. And Whitebeard moving it, probably because Blackbeard betrayed him, and so Blackbeard wouldn't, Blackbeard's a scary guy and stuff. That's probably why he moved it. Like, hey, it's not safe here anymore. You don't want, And also Whitebeard might be like, I might be dying soon, so we got to move it because you guys are going to get ransacked if we leave it here. There's like so many reasons. So yeah.
Shout out to, is it Rapu with two $10 super chats? So 20, appreciate it. It looks like he has a longer message.
Oh yeah, it's two. I like that. Instead of doing a 20, do two 10s that have the long message tied together. I like that. That's smart.
I've always been puzzled when every time we get to see the sea beast, because they have lived more than 1,000 years, and we see them actually speaking with Roger. Why do they just sit there and do nothing to reveal the truth to the Straw Hats? I believe the ancient weapons might be living things that are very, very old, very powerful, but the only thing they can do is obey orders.
I got a lot to say about that. I don't know if you have anything you want to respond with real quick.
I mean, I love the idea of all three being animalistic. I feel like a lot of the times when Oda has like 3 items or 4 items or 5 items in some kind of group, he likes to add themes. He likes to add patterns to it. So I like it from that direction. I also feel like the sea beasts, however they were first, in quotations, created, maybe it has something to do with the ancient weapons and the very big trees in the world. Maybe it even has something to do with Long Ring Longland. There's a lot of different ways that Oda could spin it, but I'm really curious to hear what you gotta say.
Yeah, well, Rapo, or however you say it, you're cooking. That's all I gotta say. So about the sea beast, whenever you say sea beast, I assume you also mean like sea kings, because there is technically a difference, because like the sea beast were like the things Jinbei talked to in his cover story. It doesn't matter. I assume you mean they're probably pretty much the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
The reason that they haven't talked to anyone, or why they haven't told anyone any of the history, or why they don't do anything, why they're just waiting, they just sit there. Nobody can hear them. Remember, like they were so astonished that Roger and Luffy could even hear them. They're like, wait, did that human really hear us? No, there's no way. Like so to them, they're waiting because they can't do anything, right? They literally, I mean, theoretically, maybe they can go talk to other fish and then have those fish go talk to fishmen. I don't know exactly, but point is they can't really talk to many people. So that's one thing I want to say. They're waiting because they probably have to. But I also, like you were saying, Threevil, I love the idea that they're all living things. I think, whenever we think about devil fruits, no matter what, those are also living to some degree because they're fruits, right? Like they grow on a tree, so like even like once they get picked off the tree and whatever, maybe they're not alive, whatever. But generally speaking, they also reform, right? Like the soul goes back and they go into another fruit, so like there is like a living component there. So the reason why I mention that is because like living things are super important in One Piece. Like that's like the ultimate form of power almost, is that you're alive and like you have these other like living forces that have wills. That's kind of the important thing. We heard about the breath of all things, voice of all things. I don't know if everything quite has a will, or at least an actionable will that like they can go out and actually, because like a rock can't really move, right? But point being that living things are extremely crucial, and like that would be the strongest way to have these powers, if you could incorporate this immense power into something alive that only you can control. And that goes back to the Sea Kings, where they can only hear certain people. Well, if only certain people can even talk to the ancient weapons, let alone control them, that's going to go a long way in stopping the wrong people from getting a hold of them, right? And then tying this all back to Vegapunk and kind of the stuff we're seeing recently, think about the sea beast that he's controlling. He like puts these headsets on him and he can control them. It's like he's remaking Poseidon in a way, right? Like he's trying to mechanically make Poseidon, just like he may have mechanically remade Uranus, and like the blueprints we're gonna remake a Pluton. And so yeah, I think just I guess the ending point is just, yeah, I think like obeying orders, that's like the whole point. Like if you can make it so only certain people, the correct people, can obey the orders, then that's the best setup. And maybe that's why Doflamingo wanted the personality swap or something. You know what I mean? Like the only way to work around that is become the person that can make the call. So yeah.
Those are a lot of great points, and I like how towards the beginning you said that they had to just listen because they didn't really have a choice. So I feel like Oda might actually use that to his advantage, where it's like these guys can finally interact with Luffy. Maybe at the end of the story, you know, they hear him, maybe they're talking back and forth, and that motivates them to do whatever Luffy asks, whether it's like, hey, help hit this part of the red line, hey, hit this ship. They're gonna be like, man, we've been waiting for someone to fucking command us, we've been waiting for someone to talk to us. Hell yeah, I'm gonna listen to you. Oda might use it to his advantage like that.
And this is a bit of a spoiler for a future video that I've been working on since like, sorry, I'm like hiccuping or burping every other word for some reason.
I passed it on.
Yeah, it's contagious, man. So I think this method of control for the ancient weapons, like why do the ancient weapons even listen to one individual to begin with? And I think it actually goes all back to Tama's fruit, right? So Tama is the ultimate example of this, where animals only listen to certain people. Also, her power works on moon cycles. Also, her Kibi Dongos literally look like little moons. Also, there's a thing in Japan which I remember reading about this. I might be misinterpreting a little bit of it, but there's a festival called the Tsukimi Dongo Festival that has something to do with the moon. And Tsukimi, the Dr. Tsukimi, as you know, is the guy from the moon, or not from the moon, but designed the automata that went to the moon, and he was always looking at the moon. So there's the Tsukimi part, and then Dongo, that's exactly what Tama gave people. So all that's to say that like maybe that has some way to tie into these ancient weapons and why they listen to certain people. And during the raid, Tama was able to tell them, hey, you're all on the Straw Hat side. Listen to anything the Straw Hats say. And they did. Anything like Usopp said or whatever, they listened to him. And so maybe that's something similar, where like you're talking with the Sea Kings. Maybe Poseidon at one point, or Shirahoshi, whatever, can be like, hey, I want you to listen to the whole Straw Hat crew as well. And maybe they're like, well, only one of them can hear us. And it's like, okay, just listen to Luffy then. Or you know what I'm saying? Like Luffy's the one that they can all talk to. And as long as the other ancient weapons maybe recognize, like if let's just say Vivi is Uranus, and I don't know, someone else is Pluton, let's say it's Momo, I don't know. All these people, you know, Vivi, Poseidon, or Shirahoshi, and Momo, whoever they are, maybe they all tell their own each ancient weapons, hey, listen to Luffy if he tells you anything. And then that's what makes Luffy like the ultimate leader, is like it's like a series of checks and balances to a degree, where like yes, the ancient weapons can control them, but they can also pass off that control to Joy Boy if they so choose, if like it is the true Joy Boy and he's proven himself to be trustworthy and all that. And yeah, I feel like there's some connection there, because why would they listen to other people, you know?
Gotcha. All right, it looks like you got like 2 more minutes. I don't know if you want to do one more super chat.
Yeah, let's one more, and that's good for me for sure.
All right, Aiden with the 5. Thank you so much, man. He said love the content 3/DAC. Random theory drops are Emu is waiting for the fruit to grow in the flower garden to possess Vivi. Blackbeard is Clover's son.
Oh, Blackbeard being Clover's son, that like I laugh because it's so random, but I love it. Like I gotta think about it a little more, like why he would have a kid, like the timelines and stuff. But oh my god, I've never heard that in my life, and I just love the idea. I don't even know how else to put it. You could also say like, you know, like a 4-leaf clover is like the rare one, and they usually have 3, and like Blackbeard does the 3 symbol, and like Clover even had the 3 parts to his hair. So I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it already, but I just love how that sounded off rip. That's awesome. And then waiting for the fruit to grow in the flower garden to possess Vivi. You know, that part is interesting because I almost feel like Emu, like Doflamingo wanted the the devil fruit from Law to like potentially take over the world. And it could be like they wanted to he wanted to personality swap with Emu, whatever. If Emu, maybe Emu is only one person or someone possessed by somebody, whatever that is. So maybe Doflamingo wanted to swap into that body to, be the real leader. And so tying into that, I would then wonder like, well, how do you, like, is it the same thing? Does Emu want to go like switch personalities with Vivi so that way Emu, like maybe, like I said, Emu might be a different person from Mu or like the power, like Emu's just the body from 800 years ago or whatever. And so maybe it's like a long story of like back then Lily was the traitor and got kicked out, and now Vivi's back, and now maybe Emu swaps into Vivi's body and makes Vivi the new leader. So it's like 800 years ago the Nefertari left, and now the Nefertari are the actual true kings of the world. Like they totally swap spots, because maybe Emu wanted her body because she can control Uranus. So maybe Emu's like, oh, if I can get into Uranus's body so that Uranus never duplicates, and I have this fake Uranus to use so that nobody can counter the real one, I'm good. Like nobody can beat me. I'm good. Like I could see that mindset. That would make a lot of sense.
That's a really, really interesting way of putting it, and I could see it too, because there has to be some reason that Emu's so obsessed with Vivi, and we know that Crocodile was withering away a lily flower when we first met him. Like there seems to be some kind of vessel situation going on to some degree. Yeah. So yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the vessel gang for sure. Like,
vessel gang.
Yeah, like I said, like Emu is going to be Stelly. Stelly is not the type of person to be strong in and of themselves. Like they got to be possessed by something, or like, I don't know, something else is going on other than just that one will, because they just aren't strong enough, I would say. So yeah, I can definitely see maybe whoever's controlling Emu, or like Nerona Emu, is like, oh yeah, Nefertari Vivi's a way better body to have, you know what I mean, for the future. But it could also be like a romantic thing also, like force Vivi to be his wife. Like he's been waiting for Lily to come back because maybe he liked Lily back then. I don't know exactly, but there's a lot of ways you could look at it, I think.
All right. With that being said, I think I'm going to call it here. Dak, man, you just went fucking insane today. I really genuinely appreciate your time, your energy, and your effort. And I actually did enjoy like tons of the things you were saying today. Thank you so much, bro.
Hey, no problem. Love's right back to you, man. And also, chat, you guys were absolutely amazing today. I was keeping an eye on it. I tried responding to some of you. I know some of you guys were sending me questions in the chat, but I couldn't get to all of them. But definitely, plenty more chances to keep talking. But I mean, this is what the One Piece community is all about. This was great. I mean, awesome discussion. I'm glad we could do this in the middle of Void Month also, because we're only a couple weeks away to, all the craziness starting back up yet again. So chat, as always, you guys were great. Threevil, you were an amazing host. Awesome questions and discussion as always, man. So, yeah, I mean, I can't wait till the next one.
Appreciate it, man. Where can people find you?
Oh, you guys know where find me at the Daxake YouTube channel. Yeah, you can click the name and the title or whatever. It'll take you over there. I do a little Twitch streaming as well, but it's always simultaneous, so you can just follow the YouTube. I just dropped a video today on Vegapunk, so if you guys heard some of what I said today and thought it was interesting, definitely go check that out, because there's even some more details in like the video. I redid the script a bunch of times. I think the way it's phrased makes the most sense in the video, so check that out. But yeah, I don't know. We're celebrating 1 year on YouTube sometime this week, so keep an eye on the community tab for that stream. That'll be fun.
Yeah, make sure you guys don't miss that. Please show out to that, and I would love to have some kind of part of it, because just watching you grow as a creator and just me loving your theories and content in general, like, you gotta let me in on that.
Oh, I'd love to, man. I'm hoping to make it a semi big thing. I don't know if I'll make it like everyone at once, or maybe like 30-minute or like an hour for like each person. I don't know exactly. We'll figure it out. I'm still thinking about it, but yeah, no, this was great, man. I mean, as always, you've been one of the goats for me since I started. I think I told you, I remember one of my oldest, maybe not oldest, but one of my like most clear old memories of watching YouTube or One Piece YouTube was you on Randy's channel, talking about Blackbeard stuff. And I remember that so vividly. I was like, oh man, this guy Threevil knows what he's talking about. Like, that Blackbeard theory is headcanon, So I vividly remember that. And so it's awesome to be here, man, on your channel. It's a lot of fun. And definitely not the last time.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And Dak, of course, thank you times a million. I hope everyone has a nice morning, day, or night, wherever you guys are. But we are signing out.
Have a great weekend.